Hey guys, welcome to Third Coast Gaming Radio. My name is Travis Doyle, as usual. Today's November 9th. It is a Monday, and we're joined by Austin Taylor,
Howdy.
my co-host and fantastic Mass Effect fan.
Absolutely. Just crazy about those
Yeah.
Mass Effect relays and that blue lady who will have sex with you with her mind or whatever.
Man, jumping right into it, Austin. What about I forgot what the ship was called. We were talking about it in the pre-show.
The Normandy.
No, the Mud Skipper.
Oh, the Mud Skipper. I don't know what
Is
the
it
heck
called
this
the Mud
thing is.
Skipper? I don't know. Anyway. All right, we got a bunch of news, so I'm gonna get right into it. N7 Day happened on November 7th, and they announced the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which is gonna be Series X, PlayStation 5, PC. Looks like it's also coming to Xbox One, PS4, and PC. It's spring 2021. And then they announced that they said we're going to be working on a new Mass Effect game as well. How do you feel,
Yeah.
Austin? What's up?
A veteran team has been hard at work envisioning the next chapter of the Mass Effect universe.
God, I hope it's not the same veteran team that made Anthem.
It's not. I mean, I look at Mass Effect stuff and I can't bring myself to care anymore. I don't know. Like, it's not even like because I didn't like Andromeda. I think there are things about Andromeda that are really great. Like I think Andromeda is far more a game about its characters than like any of the Mass Effect like trilogy was by itself. And
So I didn't play Andromeda that much. Yeah, I'll tell you, Mass Effect 1 and 2, I was like, yeah, these guys are cool and they're hanging out with me, but the only thing I know about them usually is when you do their loyalty mission. I think.
yeah. So like, I think with Mass Effect is like without like I replayed these games in like July. And the thing with like Mass Effect that I notice is that it kind of resets does this thing where it kind of resets your friendship with each character in every game. So that way you can like establish a different relationship in this game, mostly like romances. Uh and I
From
found
what
it
I
to be a
remember
really
in
weird thing.
2, you meet you'll see Rex and he's just on the planet and he won't join you, and I'm like, okay, Rex, I guess you're busy doing stuff. I was dead for 2 years or whatever, however long it was, and he's just chilling. And then you go meet Rogue Space Cop. What was his name?
Garrus.
Yeah, you meet Garrus and he's just a rogue. He's just sniping people, and he's like, oh hey Garrus, what's up, dude?
Yeah,
And
he's
then
Garrus.
you don't really get into that
Yeah,
after.
his arc of the first game was like, do I want to try to be a better cop or do I want to abandon the law? And whatever path he takes, he winds up in Omega, which is like a criminal outpost. He's just killing people because they're all criminals. Uh, on Omega, he's hunting down mercenary groups. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, he's just the
um,
Punisher, Austin. He's just the
yeah,
Punisher.
he just wants to kill people. He just wants to kill criminals with impunity, and it's a really weird, really bad like arc for the second game. And then
Yeah.
the third game is just ignored because now he's just an agent for the Turian government.
Is Garrus like in your party in 3 at all?
Yeah. So Garrus is like Garrus and Tali are the two like companions that make it like that are in your party in every game.
Yeah. One could almost say the best party members.
Mm, mm,
Hmm.
I wouldn't say that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh yeah, I forgot Rex. Sorry, of course. There's always Rex. Me and
I mean
Rex
Rex,
are bumping fists and slamming beer in the
yeah, I mean
Citadel
Rex
bar.
is fine. I don't if I like look at any of the companions for Mass Effect now, I don't really like any of them, I have to say. Like the ones that are interesting, I don't think are given much time to expand on what makes them interesting. like after 2, because like the companions you get in 2, I'd say start out with like some really cool ideas, but then in 3, most of them are sidelined.
Yeah,
To
I guess for the people that
yeah,
the
because they need to
fans
give
care about.
Edie a robot body.
Oh, robot body.
So that way Seth Green's character can be like, yeah, I want to bang that. Um, it's
Speaking
I
of
don't know.
robot bodies, is Legion play a part in 3 at all?
I mean, Legion's like a character. This is like another one of these Mass Effect 2 characters who gets sidelined.
Bummer.
He's a part of like the I think the second like arc of 3 where you're going to the Quarian homeworld to try and put an end to the Quarian Geth conflict. And no matter what ending you get at the end of that arc, Legion bites the dust.
Bummer. Well, for anyone who doesn't know, okay, so in Mass Effect, there's a group of aliens called the Geth, and they're like basically the Borg. I would say they're close enough to the Borg, and they're usually the bad guys you're shooting at. And Legion is like a collective of people, of robots who are trying to help you in one mission and 2, and you can get them to join your group.
Yeah, yeah, the Geth are like a sort of collective AI, but there's like two Mass Effect 2, you find out that there are two different groups of Geth, one that helped the Reapers and the ones that stayed on Rannoch.
Oh my
And
god.
Legion's from the ones that stayed on Rannoch. Uh, and it's just I don't know. Like I wouldn't say they're like the Borg, because there's not like a lot of assimilation that happens.
Yeah.
Right? They're like the Borg in the sense that they're a hive mind, and this like the framing of that idea of a machine hive mind is that it's bad, um, because that's just where sci-fi writers were in like the early 2000s.
Yeah, when this game is being made, what, 2005 was development?
Yeah, like
2006,
Mass Effect
maybe
1
earlier.
started in like 5, started production or like pre-production in like 5, and I think came out in like 7.
Yeah. All right, let me get into some of these details. Um, it sounds like this is mostly so it's spring 2021, and it's like an Xbox One PS4 release that is going to have forward compatibility with Series X and PlayStation 5.
Yeah, so they're going to target enhancements on the next generation. This is
So the
being optimized
engine
for sort of.
is more of like an Xbox One PS4 game.
Yes, this is
Kind
going
of
to
it
come
in
out
my
on
mind,
those
yeah.
consoles. Yeah, this is being made for the current generation of consoles.
Yeah. Kind of a bummer. Be nice if it was like just a regular PS5 X, Series S game since we're in that generation. I think those consoles are close enough to being out, but this has probably been
Yeah,
maybe it
this
got
is
delayed because of COVID or it just something they'd been working on already.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Like previous reports on this had been um, like this is taking longer than they thought it would because they want to update Mass Effect 1's combat, uh, to sort of be more player friendly. Which, like, I mean, if you fix some AI behaviors in Mass Effect 1's combat, I think that's really all you need to do.
Yeah.
Because I don't think like the combat in 2 or 3 is much to write home about since it is just aping Gears of War in a real way.
I think the combat in 2 and 3 is only slightly better. I just think the
Yeah,
cover systems are better in 2 and 3.
yeah,
Um, the shooting, it's all right. But thankfully, if you just want to play regular Mass Effect 1, the PC like Steam versions will still be there in addition to like this Legendary edition, unless they like delist the old versions. Who knows?
yeah. And I mean, I will say this is probably going to be an appealing way for people to play Mass Effect in the future, since no version of Mass Effect that's on PC, to my knowledge, has like native controller support.
Hmm.
Going through these games in like July, I had to spend like a day before like I started playing each of these games to download a series of mods for like controller support and graphics improvements.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm curious. I think that Mass Effect Trilogy is just backwards compatible on the Xbox One. So that's, I guess, the other route for people. I was gonna look up a list, but it's okay. The interesting part is like they're probably updating Mass Effect 1 a little bit, and they're keeping 2 and 3 the same. I don't think it's going to be like a complete engine rework like Spyro or Crash was. It'll probably be like making it 4K, maybe 60 frames per second.
Yeah,
We'll
I
see
doubt
when
this
they
is
talk
going to
more
be.
about it. They just kind of announced it, gave us some details, and they'll talk about it more when it's closer to completion. You see this poster on the BioWare website? It's just like blue on the left, red on the right. One of those very
Yeah, it's the Paragon Renegade colors.
Paragon Renegade. There we go. I was thinking about it as, you know, when they do the orange blue on movie posters because they're like really dynamic.
Yeah,
Like
no, that's
every movie in a couple years we're doing that.
yeah. This is like meant to evoke like the whole like the good guy choices and the bad boy choices.
I wish I
Uh,
knew what voice that was, Austin.
I wish I did too. I think it's like a really bad like Kermit the Frog impression is what I'm gonna say.
It sounds like a Russian Kermit the Frog. Yeah, check out these orange-blue contrasts for TV tropes.
No, get this fucking TV tropes bullshit out of my face.
I can't tell if my Chrome just locked up because of that. I guess I deserve this for sending that.
Even Night at the Museum. Yeah. Yeah, but this is like their Legendary Edition poster is just like trying to evoke like the whole like Paragon Renegade thing.
Yeah.
'Cause that's a whole thing in those games, and I don't know, makes them worse, in my opinion.
I wish there was some gray in the middle. You should have 3 choices, Austin, instead
Well,
of 2.
you do. Like that's the thing. In most instances in Mass Effect, you have like the choice that's going to get you more Paragon points, the choice that's going to get you the Renegade points, and you have like the middle choice. But the thing is they reworked the Paragon Renegade system in 2 and 3 to the point where that choice is not going to get you good enough like points in either field. So you're not going to have like the amount of Paragon or Renegade points that you need to like be able to unlock specific conversations later in the game.
Yeah, and most of those like um what I'll say is like checks for your Paragon or Renegade are only unlocked in those situations, and that usually lets you bypass stuff in your speech checks. Whereas like if you're just neutral, it's gonna be much harder for you to do stuff.
Well, it helps you. Like it's more than that. Like it basically you need to have enough like by the end of Mass Effect 2, you need to have like a lot of Paragon or a lot of Renegade points, or people are going to die.
Oh yeah, and the final mission of
Yeah,
Mass
in the
Effect
final
2.
mission.
I was so angry when I was playing that because I didn't set it up right, and I was just like, I don't want to play this whole game over again. Legion died right before I got there too. The last thing that happened in my Mass Effect 2 game, which is why I never played 3, is I had the loyalty mission for Legion show up, and then the final mission. And if I do the loyalty mission for Legion, something fucked ended up happening in like the final mission, and it's just weird. That's my Mass Effect experience, Austin. Let's go to Cake Bash. I sent you this link for Cake Bash, Austin.
Please do. Let's move on.
Did you open the link for Cake Bash, Austin?
I mean, I see this trailer.
What? Look at the. It looks like those ads where they would put they would draw simple like faces on inanimate objects, and they have those black hands moving around, or they're like 3 fingers and stuff. I think this came out in October 14th. But PlayStation like sent me PlayStation like uploaded a trailer for it like 2 days ago as like, and I thought this was a new game that was going to come out soon, but it's kind of like something that came out on the 14th. I think it's Steam, Switch, PS4. It's kind of like a Mario Party collection. It's very delightful looking.
I'm not big on sort of bringing
But
food
Austin,
to
let me tell you
life.
about Bug Snacks though,
I eat
where you
food,
can
you know.
eat the food and become a Cronenberg monster.
You know, he's in reviews for Bugsnax hit like this morning, yeah.
I have not looked into that. You know, in Cake Bash, you are the food, but in Bug Snacks, you get to eat the food. So that'd probably morally align itself with like what kind of food games Austin wants, right?
Well, I mean, the thing is like the food is still like anthropomorphized, right? Like it's still moving around. It's still alive. It's got eyes. Um, you can pet the food in Bug Snacks, and man, that's not gonna make me feel all right when I'm like petting food and I'm like, okay, now eat this burger, cow.
Yeah.
Um, so that way I can see what it's gonna do to your body.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. It's alright. People eat animals anyway. They're already anthropomorphized. Maybe it's got an 8 on IGN. You know, our most trusted reviews website, IGN, Games Radar. Yeah, I guess the reviews are coming out for Bug Snacks. That's cool. Can feel repetitive, disappointing load times on PS5 are the cons, but everything else seems cool. You know, kind of what everyone has been talking about it. Weird, cool story, lovable characters, enduringly bizarre. I'll probably just buy that on PS4. Maybe we'll talk about it next week. Oh, next week, Destiny 2 comes out tomorrow, Austin. I'm so ready.
Destiny 2 comes out again, apparently.
Yes. Much like the WoW expansions, we got a
Yeah.
Destiny 2 Beyond Light expansion. It drops tonight at like 3 a.m. Central Time. I don't remember what it is for other time zones, but God, I'm gonna play like 12 hours out of it on the first day, Austin.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you can. I'm glad Destiny's coming back for you.
Get some get your hobby gaming in.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, what if The Witcher 3 had a new DLC once a year, Austin? Would that make
Lord,
you happy?
no.
That wouldn't make you happy, Austin.
No,
Austin,
no.
nothing makes you happy anymore.
I can't imagine like being excited about CD Projekt like releasing like yearly expansions for The Witcher 3.
Yeah. It's okay. They'll crunch for like the last 3 months of every expansion. You know, 'cause that's
Yeah,
what they
I mean,
do.
well, it's just like I don't know. I think The Witcher 3 is like a fine place to end that game series. I really hope the next Witcher game they're making isn't The Witcher 4 and like you play as Ciri this time. I'd rather just leave that batch of characters alone.
Yeah. How about what if it was The Witcher colon Siri, and there's just not even a number. What's Siri's last name? I'm just making a
No,
Miles Morales joke here.
I am not gonna say her last name
It's okay.
on
Um.
here.
So
Partially
this
because
desk.
I know pieces
Sorry.
of it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But you know what I mean. It's okay. It'll with the power of the SSD, you can play Siri in 2 seconds. You know,
Well, the thing is, like,
on
we don't need to
PlayStation
get
5.
into The Witcher 3's endings right now. We don't need to do this.
I don't know any of the endings for The Witcher 3. We don't have to get into this. It's fine. But
Well, they're all
okay.
yeah. Just go.
So
Let's go.
so in Destiny though, uh,
Beyond Light.
Europa and Beyond Light, we're getting Europa as like one of the play spaces, and then we're going back to the Cosmodrome, which is kind of like the Russian part of Earth. It's like on Earth, and it's basically in Russia, and it's like like a decaying Russia, I guess. Is the way to explain it.
Yeah, like a dilapidated like Russian like sort of space complex, like space complex. Like
Correct.
it's the intro area in Destiny 1, and like I think you also replay that mission if you make a new character in Destiny 2.
Yeah, and they're also stripping out a bunch of the planets that were in base Destiny 2. So they're getting rid of the Cosmodrome, Mars, Venus.
They say we're going back to the Cosmodrome.
Oh shit. Okay, give me a second. Okay, Europa's an ice planet, and there's snow. Let me look at. Yeah, so we're going back to the Cosmodrome. Sorry, I was listing off Destiny 1 planet. Because the Destiny 2 moons are so memorable. Um, They are getting rid of Titan. They're getting rid of Nessus, and they're getting rid of the third one, which I can't think of right now.
Yes, they're basically getting rid of like the base campaign in Destiny 2.
Yeah, and then they're getting rid of Mars and Mercury as well. And they're getting rid of Io. There we go. So they're getting rid of the base stuff so they can make the install size smaller. And I think they're going to make a different campaign for people who have the free-to-play version. Because they're basically getting rid of the Destiny 2 campaign and play spaces. And I think it's going to be a different... Because on Destiny 2, it's the European Dead Zone this time instead of the Cosmodrome. So they're going to bring the Cosmodrome back for the Earth location, and they're getting rid of the European Dead Zone for Earth. Just because I think Destiny sits at like around 120 gigs as of the expansion, and the new expansion itself is like 60 gigabytes. So it's a decent sized game. I think it's going to be bigger than the last two expansions that were of the same size, like Forsaken and Taken King.
Yeah.
Which are the big expansions, whereas like Shadowkeep and the Rise of Iron, which were the other $40 expansions, were a little smaller. They're like the in-between expansions between the what I would call New Light, or this Beyond Light is closer to like a Destiny 3 than any of the other ones, because Activision at some point split with Bungie while they were making Destiny Shadowkeep last year in 2019. So if they were still with Activision, we would have gotten Destiny 3 either this year or next year. So I think they probably trimmed some stuff out and made Beyond Light, which I don't know. The way I play Destiny is the expansion comes out, I'll play the expansion, I'll do some grinding for a month or two, and then I'll hop off and play something else. It's my September Destiny, which is November this year because COVID pushed it, but it should be cool.
I hope the pew pews and the space magic is what you want it to be. It's like that. Some people have published impressions of like the new stasis powers, and they seem pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's ice space magic. You can kind of freeze people, and it's more. There's this thing in concept in Destiny where you're following the light because there is a giant orb called the Traveler that showed up and gave everyone powers, and he's the light. Well,
Yep.
now as a guardian or the player character, I'm using the darkness to get my powers now, which is where that
Oh,
ice stuff comes out. I know, crazy.
turning away from the light. Oh no.
Uh-huh. So one of the characters' quotes are like, we use the power of the light from the Traveler to defeat our enemies, but what if we used the darkness as well to help us? Maybe it'll corrupt us. Who knows? You know. What's
Maybe
that
this will be a
saying? Infinite power infinitely corrupts, or something.
Sure.
That's not a quote. I'm
It's
just like,
close enough.
it's close enough to a quote that someone probably said. But it looks really cool. Europa is like a big snow planet, and anything that does like a snow environment gets me hype. Like hanging out in the snow in Red Dead, very fun. You get to see your footprints. Probably not going to be like that in here, but
Oh, is that supposed to be fun?
what? Red Dead Redemption 2 or walking around
Yeah.
in the snow?
Was that section of Red Dead Redemption 2 supposed to be fun?
I thought it was okay. I thought it was pretty. It wasn't fun to play, but it was like an experience,
As most things are.
as most things are. I enjoyed the experience. I don't know if I had fun doing it, but they're bringing back the stranger, the lady who said, "I don't have enough time to explain why I don't have enough time to explain the story of
Yeah.
Destiny 1." And then they made a meme weapon called No Time to Explain. And that's going to be free when you pre-order it. They just give you primary exotics. It's like a pulse rifle. It's just a battle rifle, but you can chain it for like ammo.
Yeah. I remember that gun. I think it's the same gun you got like at the end of the first Destiny campaign.
Correct. And I think it was a legendary at the end of the original campaign. It was called something different. Same model though. I don't know. It'll be cool. I'm curious what the reviews. I mean, I bought it for $40. That's how much it is. You get a free season, which gives you the battle pass for free when you buy it. So you're getting both tiers of your battle pass. And then on Game Pass on Xbox Series S and One S, and One X, it's when you pay for Game Pass it's Game Pass Ultimate because you need online to play it too. You'll just get all the Destiny expansions. So if you're a Game Pass person, you can play this already for free. And I think they were talking about Series S and Series X being day and date. Let me look this up real fast. I didn't have this in my show notes, but I forgot that it was coming up. It is a launch title, yeah. It's just a Series X launch title. As it turns out, Bungie's still a Microsoft launch title. Got him, Austin. You see? This is actually a Paul Tassi headline from Forbes.
Even when you can get away, you can't get away.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great deal to have Destiny on Game Pass.
I mean, it seems like it's only like console Game Pass, so it's still like a good thing. I won't be like messing around with it.
Yeah. If
because
it's like a 10 out of 10, Austin, do you think you'll pick it up? If it's like this is the best Destiny ever and it's amazing, right?
Because everyone said that about the Taken King. Everyone said the Taken King fixed Destiny, and then I played the Taken King. I was like, it's more.
Yeah.
I don't think this fixes any problem I had with Destiny, but I can shoot more things, which I guess is what people wanted.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like the mission structure of Destiny needs to be like the missions need to be longer, more like a Halo mission to fix some problems. Some of the missions are really short in Destiny. So we went back and played Destiny 2, but we didn't play the strikes because the strikes were just not in the campaign, and those are like the good missions is what I would call it because there's always a boss at the end, and they're longer usually, and they're more complex. You know what a strike is.
Yeah, I played a few.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Anyway,
call them the good missions, but
yeah, I think they're the good missions. But you play them so much that they're just like it's bought to memory. All right, I'm gonna move on from the Destiny stuff. Today they announced the. This is a pull I just got. It's the Dark Pictures anthology. Has their new part of their set of games. It's called House of Ashes. It's coming next year. Do you ever have you played any of the Dark Pictures anthology stuff?
no, I've thought about it because I think Until Dawn was pretty great. Like this is the same company that made Until Dawn.
Yeah, Supermassive Games.
Yeah, the first one of these that came out seemed fine. The Man of Medan seemed okay, but it wasn't particularly interesting to me, especially because they do a lot of what makes it interesting is that there is a weird co-op element to it.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Yeah, so the co-op element seems pretty cool, pretty fleshed out, specifically in online, more so than uh couch co-op, which is not necessarily the way I want to play that game. If I'm gonna play the Dark Pictures anthology, I want to invite friends over. This is of course before COVID. I want to invite friends. I want to invite friends over and have them sit we have us just sit on the couch and just pass the controller around each chapter because that's what we did with Until Dawn, and it was cool as hell.
Yeah, I did that with Until Dawn, but one of my friends was just not having a good time, and we just stopped playing. But I know the Pictures anthology stuff is the multiplayer stuff is more robust than Until Dawn. Or Until Dawn, when we were playing, we were all picking who we wanted our survivor to live.
Yeah.
Whereas Man of Medan has built-in, they kind of gamify the multiplayer to kind of have some fun stuff coming, because it's like you're watching a horror movie with your friends, but you get to choose the adventure.
Yeah. So like they gamify, like they actually put multiplayer functionality in there. There's no real multiplayer functionality in Until Dawn. It's just a mode of play that makes the game a bit more interesting.
Yeah.
Um, and so like once you get to Man of Medan, like they start like including an actual multiplayer mode, uh, which I think really helped that game out in some unexpected ways. I don't think when reviews for that game came out, I don't think a lot of like reviewers knew
Mhm.
about how like different the co-op experience is online between like couch co-op, because I don't remember reading a lot about that um in the pieces that came out like before the game launch. But afterwards I saw like a lot of people like talking about like this specific functionality, how much that made Man of Medan more enjoyable. I don't know much about the one that came out afterwards, Little Hope.
Yeah. So it's probably a cool game to watch on Twitch. I'm looking on Amazon right now. They're usually $30 when they come out. Okay, they have Man of Medan for 30. I think Little Pictures starts out as 40. I have two. I have a listing for 40 and a listing for 30. So I actually have no idea. But I'm curious if they put together like a Game of the Year edition or like a complete edition of the Dark Pictures anthology, or if this is just something they're gonna do. Do these come out once a year, or do they take? Are they like every 6 months?
I That
Let
is
me
a
look
good
on
question.
Wikipedia.
That's a question I don't necessarily have the
They're
answer.
they probably come out during Halloween. Yeah, Little Hope was released on October 30th, 2020, and Man of Medan was 2019 in August. So probably every Halloween, they're doing what like movie studios do is they make their horror game and they put it out around Halloween because I love the good spooky times. And they're really good game. They look pretty too. The facial capture, very cool.
Yeah, they seem slightly better than what they were working with in Until Dawn. So
Yeah. Let's see, little. I think they come out as $40. Let me check what GameStop says real fast. We got this other thing. We have a bunch of the PS5, Xbox coverage was kind of coming out where people were able to talk about the console UI more and how games ran and how loading speed was. Right before I get to that though, I do think they come out at $30 for the Dark Pictures stuff, which is, hey, that's the price of like 3 movie tickets. Or I don't know, Netflix for 3 months. Who goes to movies anymore, Austin?
um idiots,
Yeah,
given the current circumstance.
that's okay.
Uh
But all right, I want to get into this PS5 stuff. So the first thing I got up is the launch day ordering. A lot of places like Best Buy and I think GameStop and Walmart were talking about it. Is you'll like take an online order for your console, you'll buy it online, and then you'll create a date with the website and you'll go pick it up in store, and they're not going to have it on shelves until like Best Buy's not going to have it on shelves until 2021, not October.
yeah. Yeah, so a lot of places like Target, Best Buy and such, you're gonna go onto the website is where all this is being handled. So you'll make your pre-orders there, and then you'll have to make an appointment with the store. And like you'll either be able to do contactless, like you'll walk in the store to do store pickup, or you'll do like pick up from your car sort of thing.
Which for COVID is a good idea. You don't need like the launch day lines that we've seen being like a
Yeah,
thrill, which I never did those. They always seem cool. I know people use them as advertising where like Bill Gates would hand the copy of Halo and an Xbox 360 to the first guy in line or whatever.
yeah,
People are into that stuff. It's a neat thing that I wasn't really my generation of gaming. I usually picked up consoles like 6 months after or when they were like a PS2 Slim type thing.
I don't think I've ever gone to like a launch event for a game. Like I've definitely gotten games the day they came out, but I've never gone to any sort of event for like a console launch or a game launch. I think the closest I ever came to was when Spider-Man came out.
Mhm.
But I had like a friend and I were like, okay, we're gonna go to Best Buy. We're just gonna go pick up our copies of the game. Uh, but like I had to work later than I thought I was going to have to. So we didn't go until like 6.
Yeah, I definitely did some midnight launches or some they were doing 10 p.m. launches for a while because I guess, better for the employees. Don't make people stay at midnight to sell a bunch of people a game. But the closest thing I got, I definitely got when Destiny came out on PS4. It was like a year after the PS4 launch, and they had a white console, and I think I ordered it from Amazon or I picked it up from GameStop. But you got the white console, and it had the game in it, and I think that's the closest I had to not launch day, but picking something up like day and date for a game, pretty much. And then I don't know. I think that was me buying my own consoles. I think for Christmas I got a PS2 at launch with Kingdom Hearts, and that started this whole thing, Austin. Kingdom Hearts, power of friendship and keyblades, and unlocking your true feelings, Austin. That's not what Kingdom Hearts is all about, but maybe it is. All right,
You lost me.
it's okay. Just like Kingdom Hearts loses a lot of people, Austin, I lost you as well. You see the comparisons there?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. All right. So some PS5 stuff. What have you watched any coverage of the PS5? What are your
Yeah,
what have you been
like
hearing people talk about it?
from
Since
the coverage.
obviously neither of us have a PS5 or an Xbox One S, we're not doing coverage of it, but we can definitely talk about what's been going on with them from a secondhand experience.
Yeah, so I've mostly been watching like some uh like Giant Bomb like did a video on like the UI of the PS5. A couple of outlets are publishing like load time comparisons
Yes.
from games like that were ported from the PS4 to the PS5. And like, I don't know, it seems kind of messy, all things considered. Like it doesn't seem bad by any means. I think everything I've seen from the PS5 is like it's relatively speaking, it's working as advertised. Load times are pretty short. The games where work has been put in to optimize them for this new console generation, they look better. Um, but like Bloodborne still runs at 30 frames, so I don't know why. Um, that's sort of what I'm seeing. And that's just on like the PS5 like PlayStation Plus collection that got ported onto the PS5. Um,
All right.
so yeah,
So
a
let's
lot of it's
start
not,
at
a lot of it's not that interesting to me.
let's start with the PS5. The they were getting into some load times with the backwards compatible PS4 stuff. And in comparing the load times, Red Dead 2 loads the same on the Series X and the PS5. Final Fantasy 15 is faster on the Series X at 48 seconds, whereas PS5 is a minute. Destiny 2 is about the same. It's 50 seconds on PS5, whereas on current gen, I think it's closer to 2 minutes. Monster Hunter World is 35 seconds on a Series X, whereas a PS5 is 51 seconds. And I know Monster Hunter got a lot of flack because the load times were just. Sometimes it'd take a while to set up a hunt in those games. And I think the other PS5 stuff that was coming out was how the. Okay, so the PS5 is a terabyte, and roughly you can only use 650 gigs of that hard drive because the rest of it is like console, like UI and a bunch of other data on there. Do you know about what some of that
Just wild.
stuff is? Did you look into that at all?
Well, I mean, a lot of it's just like the OS, right? Like
Yeah.
you need to use space, and you use a lot of like a pretty large amount of space to either is either reserved for like future OS improvements and updates, or like just for it's already on the console. And it seems like uh, it seems like this thing's launching. Like the PS5 is launching with a lot like on it.
Yeah.
Is the thing.
Like Astro Boy.
Yep, yeah, we got that Astro Boy.
We'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, no, the
And you also need to like, and I imagine like some of that's also going to be taken up by like the controller functionality, right? Is like the PS5 being able to recognize the adaptive triggers of like the DualSense and
the what I'll call now is 4K Rumble instead of HD Rumble.
yeah.
Haha. And I hear the cloud storage stuff is a little differently. Like when you're setting up your cloud storage, you can't individually select stuff to download. I think you have to on the PS4 when you would press the options button and go into a game setting, you could upload or download your save from there, but now you have to go a couple menus in to mess with your cloud storage stuff. And then there's something about the hard drives, but I can't remember. All right, Austin. What else you
about
got?
about the PS5 not like supporting external game storage right now.
I think you can do it, but it's a little weird. I guess it's cold storage. I don't know. I thought when I was watching some Giant Bomb stuff, they were talking about how they had external storage, but this article says something about cold storage. I don't know. Let me skip that. I don't know too much about it. Um, and let me think about any of the Series S and Series X stuff that was coming out that was
Yeah,
different.
so you can only use an external drive to like move files. You cannot like actively use an external drive to like store PS5 games.
Interesting. Some weird stuff. I don't know. SSDs are expensive, and I know at least for the PS4, it's pretty easy to swap that drive. I don't think anyone's messing around with trying to swap SSDs yet. And even getting like, I would want like a 2 terabyte SSD for the PS5 because that's what I have in my PS4, and $300, which if you think about your console, it's $500 with 1 terabyte, and you're gonna need expansion stuff. So those consoles they're kind of coming out with the bare minimum storage, whereas like we saw with like the PS3 and the PS4s, they had bigger storage, and I think the consoles were a little more expensive for that, or they were like the PS4s wasn't as strong as it could be at the time compared to PCs, but it gave you enough space to kind of do stuff. And games were a lot smaller back then too.
Well, like the PS4 launched with 500 gigs.
Yeah. And at the time
Um,
that was just fine because games were usually 20 gigabytes.
yeah, but no, right? Like it was that way. It was like good for a year, and then after like the first year of it, we get things like Destiny, which are like become like start at like 30,
That's true.
and then
And
things like your Call of Duties became much bigger. Your Titanfall 2. I remember Titanfall 2 launching with like 40 some odd gigs.
I think Titanfall 2 is like 80 now when I was looking at my hard drive. So expansion's the place, where the money is going to go into. You're going to see people like you're the type of users you're going to have. You're going to have people who are deleting a lot of games off their hard drive, which does happen, or you're going to expand it with like Xbox has those 1 terabyte Seagate. Are they Seagate? They're not Seagate.
Seagate's a brand.
Yeah. With their memory cards. It's $200 and it's a Seagate officially licensed memory card. So that's probably the hidden cost of the consoles, I would say, for people who are going to get into expansion like that. Do you have any other thoughts on that kind of coverage that we've been seeing?
Just that like the Xbox like Series X like still like if it had a better launch lineup, I would probably say the Series X is the best bet here still because like everything I'm looking at for the PS5 as far as like backwards compatibility and like console like features, like it feels like needlessly just like a tad bit more complicated than it should be.
Yeah, like some of the saves aren't going to transfer over at launch. I think it's more like on a game by game basis.
Yeah,
Where
like
if the game has built-in transfer save, then you can probably pick up your save from it. Whereas Xbox, everything just kind of works more similarly because they put a lot of work into their backwards compatibility.
yeah, because everything's like fundamentally using, to my understanding, fundamentally the Xbox Series X and S are like using very similar architecture to the Xbox One.
Which Sony had their cell processor for the PS3, so that makes it harder for them to get into that catalog, which they only really do with like cloud streaming on PS Now or like re-releasing it on PS4.
Yeah, and I don't even mean like to PS3 games. I mean like
Yeah,
more like
even PS4.
people are reporting like weird emulation like glitches with like games that were not have not yet been updated to take advantage of the PS5's new hardware.
Yeah. Let me see. Miles Morales is one of the PS5 launches, also on PS4. Godfall is coming out on both. Astrobot's Playroom is PS4, and then Assassin's Creed Valhalla is coming out to Series X, but it's coming to PS5 later, right?
No, yeah, because PS5 launches 2 days after the Series X.
Oh, is it just coming out on PS5 the week after?
It's
I
coming out
thought
on
they
the
said it
12th.
was going to be longer for some. Maybe I'm thinking about a different game, but I'm thinking about Watch Dogs Legion. Or maybe I'm not. Maybe I think I'll have to look at some Amazon listings in a second for them. But that stuff seems cool. While we're on Valhalla, did you see any of the coverage talking about? There was some stuff coming out about the open world where it's a lot closer to like the side missions are more like puzzle stuff, all of Breath of the Wild, instead of like Ubisoft's normal side mission stuff, which is just like, hey, go from here to here, go do something.
Yeah. So my understanding is that a lot of skill upgrades in Valhalla are tied to like side missions and exploration quests, right? Not so much of like you don't level up like you did in Odyssey and Origins.
Yeah.
So a lot of what you're doing is like if you want a new skill, you have to like go into the world and find it, as opposed to just like killing people until you get your level up so you can spend a skill point in going into some ridiculously overly complex level up tree.
Yeah, which is cool. I'm glad they're doing something different with the Assassin's Creed open world. I don't think it's a game for me, but it's exciting for people who are into it. Hey, maybe if it reviews, I have a hard time playing either fantasy or like games that take place in what kind of era would you call it? It's like pre-modern times. Do you know the word I'm looking for, Austin?
I mean, that's pre-modern is a real wide brush there.
Yeah, like Tsushima, for example. I was like, oh, I like first person shooters and third person shooters. Awesome. That's all I'm trying to say. It's like Fallout or Skyrim. I usually play Fallout more. That's what I mean.
Hmm. Real man of the gun, you say?
Huh? There's something about like you. I think a gun translates to like an FPS more to where I'm interacting with my enemies instead of like doing combos with like a hack and slash. To where I feel more engaged with like a shooter or like something
Yeah, and
like
that's
Watch Dogs
yeah, that's
with
not like
a taser.
unfair, you
Yeah,
know? Like game controllers have definitely been developed in a way to make shooting a gun feel good.
yeah.
Like that's why we call them triggers, you know?
It's true. Oh yeah, here's more about the Valhalla. Here's a quote from Jason Schreier on Twitter. He's played about 25 hours, and he was saying the world is full of little puzzles and mysteries that reminds him of Breath of the Wild. Uh, and they cover their maps with gold, white, and blue dots. The gold and white dots are treasures that you need to solve environmental puzzles, while the blue dots are weird encounters, like kind of like the mysterious stranger stuff from Red Dead or GTA. And then little fun moments that are a fun little checklist. So that's cool. I'm glad they're doing something different for open world. Maybe we'll see it that kind of open world move over into more open world games that are come out soon. Because I like the open world genre. I think exploring spaces can sometimes be more fun than like a linear story. Depends what you're wanting to do.
Yeah, I mean we are at the point I think finally where we already started to see like Breath of the Wild impact in like smaller games, but like now we're at the point in time where like games with like multi-million dollar productions are going to be coming out in a time frame where they can actually start taking advantage of the lessons that we learned from Breath of the Wild.
All right. All right. I'm gonna move on to some PS5. The other PS5 thing I had was Sony was talking about two of its franchises, about kind of what date they're thinking they're gonna come out. The Horizon Zero Dawn sequel, Horizon Forbidden West. That's a name. Is coming out the second half of 2021. And then Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart is confirmed for the first half of 2021 as well. I'm excited for Ratchet. I'd probably pick up a PS5 to play Ratchet and Clank. I've played all of those games. That's like got my PS2. I'm a Ratchet and Clank fan. I play the Jack and Daxters every now and then. I love Insomniac. They make cool games.
Yeah, I mean, I played the last Ratchet and Clank. It was good enough,
I
all
didn't beat
things
that one
considered.
actually.
It, you know, it's fun.
Yeah,
I think you'd probably like it.
I like the first game. I played the first game.
Yeah,
It's
it might.
the last one's a remake of the first game, 2016 Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, 2016 one is pretty much a remake of the first one.
I think it was only $40 as well, and
Yeah,
it came
and
out
they
with a
had that
movie that was
movie.
really bad. The movie was
Yeah.
really bad.
Oh,
I
what?
didn't go to theaters to go see it. I think I
Wow.
got it off of Am. It was all right.
Are you even a real fan?
No, I'm not. I guess
How could you?
it's just hard. Like they tried to do it in 2 hours, and the jokes are bad. That's how I'll say it. It's not
Yeah.
like I want that Pixar quality, and they got to put a little more money in to get that. It was close enough. Like the graphics are really good. Like the animation of the movie was really good, but like you're just missing that little peanut on top. I don't even know what a peanut on top is, Austin, but that
I
little
What in the hell are you
Pixar
even talking
charm.
about
I'm
now?
trying to think of like
The je ne
it's a
sais quoi?
cherry on top. It's a cherry on top.
Cherry on top is something. Yeah, is a
Yeah.
well enough known metaphor. But like, are you like so essentially like yeah? So like you're looking for the je ne sais quoi.
What?
Never mind. We can just no.
You know, I
I'm
know
not.
that's a French saying, but I have no idea what it means.
It's that like my understanding is like that's special. What makes it special? You
Yeah.
know?
And I would say maybe it's the structure. I think Pixar movies have a really good 3-act structure, and they usually the good ones, the ones I can think of that are like, Toy Story and um, what's the robot one? Little cute robot. Well, Wally. My brain is an endless cycle of not remembering things, and I'm just gonna ask you, Austin. You're my.
Yeah, Wally is a Pixar movie
Uh-huh.
that came out and
um,
people watched it.
Man, you know what is also coming out? Austin is Demon Souls.
God.
There's 12 minutes of gameplay, and they were talking about the UI a little bit.
Yeah, I have some thoughts.
What's up? I haven't looked at it yet.
I don't like it.
I've there's this. I'm on this Demon Souls article, and they're just talking about load times on here.
Yeah, so like all the technical stuff seems really cool. Like the load times seem really cool. Um, but like I'm looking at this like Demon Souls like state of play video, and the character they're showing off in this character creator looks hot. That's not allowed.
Oh,
This is a From game.
can you send me that link real fast? I think GameStop posted the wrong video on their website. Thanks, dude.
Yeah. Like so it opens with like a quick peek into character creator. And like there's some cool stuff happening. Like I don't think you select like a gender, you select like a body type is what I'm seeing here. And like body type like A and type B is like one of them's more masculine, the other air quote masculine, the other one a bit more feminine.
Yeah.
Um but then like they're going into this and it's I don't know, these look like people. I can recognize these people.
Oh,
And
and
I
not like the weird, janky like
monstrosities.
animations of us from game.
Yeah, like I don't like it. I could imagine seeing someone who kind of looks like these people in a grocery store instead of like the monsters I love making in From games where like I make the cheeks so like wide it go through the helmets, you know?
The Discord link you sent me just opened the video.
Yeah, that's the
I
video
was
I'm looking
talking
at.
over it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. It looks cool. It's definitely a different take from like I was playing Bloodborne a little bit, and we'll get into that when we're talking about games. But like the faces in Bloodborne are just ugly.
Yeah.
They do not look like people. They just
They
look
don't
like
look okay.
no. And I guess Demon Souls has the work. They put the work in the people.
Yeah, I don't know why. Well I
It's
do
a
know why.
choice.
It's because yeah, it's a choice they
It's a
made and
PS5
it just
game.
yeah, I don't
This dragon
don't
looks
like
pretty
it.
cool though. He's got a
And
bunch
then
of
we
people in his mouth.
yeah, and then once they get into like the UI of the game, I think this UI looks really bad.
It's it's just really clean and simple, but I think it misses the charm that like the Dark Souls and Demon Souls UI is.
Yeah, like there's so much less style going into this UI, and it's a real bummer.
It looks more like a video game. I would say a generic video game UI where I'm looking at the original Demon Souls UI and it's just like, you know, I like the health bars from the original Demon Souls. I beat Demon Souls and did the no. This is just the remake UI. They changed the. Did they change the UI from the trailer? I think they changed the UI, Austin. Look at this other trailer. The UI is completely different.
I mean, this is a from September, is not an official video.
Really?
Yeah, this is
Uh,
not. This is from a completely different. This isn't even from like the
I thought.
Sony YouTube channel. This is definitely someone pasting Demon Souls UI onto a video.
Then I'm crazy. Let's just go with that.
Yeah, like
I
this
looked
is
at this video and it was like, it was the gameplay from that announcement. I was like, oh yeah, this is probably the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's the same gameplay. Someone just pasted the UI onto it.
That's a good joke. I jumped to conclusions there, Austin. You see what I did?
Yeah. Um, like I don't know. I don't like what they're doing here with
I
this
like.
like updated UI. I feel like this reminds me of Lords of the Fallen in like its aesthetic. And
Yeah, it's kind of bland.
that was like a bland bad one of these.
Yeah. Although I like how they have the meters on like the sword and shield. I think that I don't know what those meters are. There's just like a red
Well, it's like
bar.
durability.
What the weapons didn't have durability in the
Yeah,
original Demon Souls. Oh yes, they did actually. You
yeah,
had
they
to
did.
repair them. That's
Yeah.
right. Was that a Dark Souls thing too?
Yeah,
It's
they
been a
had Dark
while.
Souls thing. So, like in Dark
You-
Souls, you also have durability, but there's no bar, right? They don't put a bar for weapon durability until Dark Souls 3.
Well, I think that that's definitely a good ad. I just like look at the top right, your Souls meter. It's just it looks like an app icon on like my phone. A little swirl instead of the nice. It's missing the like gothic like setting UI that they put in that first game. So I'll just sit here and I'll agree with you, Austin. It sucks. I hope they do something. I hope there's probably people talking about this too. Maybe they'll change it in a patch later on. Who knows?
Yeah, I doubt it. Like, this is Blue Point, right? Like, Blue
Put the
Point,
fucking game out.
we can never. I'm not gonna like give Blue Point much credit when it comes to like conversations about like preserving aesthetics in anything. Because they just seem to be going like upping games to the point where instead of like chasing the aesthetics of what was made within their original constraints, they are chasing like the making them look as nice as they can, right? They did the same thing with like Shadow of the Colossus, and like it's whatever.
You were playing
I'm
that a
still
little
gonna.
the other day, weren't
I'm
you?
still gonna, yeah, like I'm still gonna play Shadow of the Colossus. Like I still kind of return to that game every so often. It's like, what if I just murdered a giant bird, right?
Have you
Like,
beaten that yet?
yeah, I
Okay,
did. Like
cool.
Shadow of the Colossus, like the remake for PS4 is still a good game. The Demon Souls remake is still probably gonna own. Um,
I
like
will
the other
say
thing they
that
were,
Shadow of the Colossus used to be like my hobby game in like middle school, where I'd come home. I after you beat that game, I would come home and do those time challenges and try and unlock everything, and then rebeat it on hard and go explore the open world. I still haven't touched the PS4 version. I should just get in there, shouldn't I, Austin?
I mean, yeah, all things considered, it's good. I think it's just as frustrating as Shadow of the Colossus was when it came out.
Yeah, a
Is what it looks
dedicated
like.
grab button on the controller. It's a cool idea. Some of the stuff is weird. The jumping is weird.
Well, yeah, it's just like how you grabbing interacts with like your ability to jump and stuff. Like I remember being stuck on the final Colossus of that game for far too long because
Oh,
you
he's a
just
he's a pain in the ass. I sat
yeah
there until I beat that fucker, Austin.
yeah
That the last boss of Shadow of the Colossus is literally a giant maze that's put onto an enemy because he's like a giant tower that you have to
yeah.
climb up. For people who don't
Um,
know what it is.
one thing to note about the Demon Souls remake is that they are not like this is something that was speculated at when they first announced the remake of Demon Souls. Is that they would add in the sixth Arc Stone,
Oh,
which was unfinished in the original release. That's not happening.
bummer. I
Yeah,
didn't even know there was a six arc stone
well, it's just
because that's
like
one of
there's
the worlds, right? There's the 5 worlds.
yeah.
Okay.
I think you can see it in the Nexus, but there's nothing like you can't interact with it at all.
The Nexus music. Oh, I just
Yeah,
got
it
a
is
wave of
unfinished.
nostalgia, Austin. Oh, I haven't thought about the Nexus in years, Austin.
Yeah, no, the Nexus. I'm liking what I see of the Nexus, like though, all
Touches
things
the
considered.
demon inside of me, Austin.
Like I do like what that's playing at with like it's kind of like your Firelink Shrine, but it's also a prison, right?
Yeah,
Which I think is a dope feel if they can
pretty good.
communicate that right.
Speaking of prisons, Tower of Latria. If you want to get into a horror game. Just play all of Tower of Latria and Demon Souls. Mind flares murdering you in one hit and trying to get up to the top of this tower. You're just stuck in the prison at the bottom. You're like, hey, get to the top. You'll figure it out.
I had no idea there were like mind flayers in Demon Souls until like this remake.
Yeah,
I just saw one of those and I think that's buck wild.
You're like, you see them, they have their green lantern, you see them into the distance, like, what the fuck is that? So you go up to it to like interact with it, and they'll just suck your brains out.
Yeah.
They just grab you and one hit kill you. So you're just tensely grabbing your controller, watching these mind flares so you can get like a stealth kill on them, backstab that does more damage, and then just wail on them, hoping there's not two mind flares that also notice it who run after you. Jesus.
I don't know, seeing this D&D ass enemy in this game is like, it's not what I wanted, but I'm not angry about it, like.
Yeah. Demon Souls definitely has some of... They kind of pull from everything in that first Demon Souls. There's a little bit of like enemies from different types of like D&D enemies or like other fantasy enemies. Like the gargoyles weren't in Demon Souls, but they definitely had some like... Each of the 5 zones had its own set of like types of enemies you would encounter. Ugh, we're gonna beat this, Austin. When you get that PS5, I'm also gonna pick it up. And I want to beat this with you, Austin.
Yeah, that'll happen at some point.
Man, you don't have... I know I asked you last time. Do you have your PS3 still?
No, I never had a PS3.
Okay, you never had a PS3. Would you rather play Demon Souls on PS3 for the first time or on PS5 for the first time?
It's probably gonna be PS5.
Okay, just checking. All right, on to the other news. Codemasters has been making some moves. Not Codemasters. Take-Two has been making some moves, buying some companies. They bought up Codemasters. They were in a talks about a possible sale. I think it's close enough to say that it's going to go through. Let me see how much they bought it for. Nearly $1 billion. And Codemasters kind of does the Dirt 3 and Dirt Rally.
Oh no, I know people who like those games.
F1 publisher as well. It's interesting that Take-Two is picking up a company that makes car games. I'm curious if we're going to see any of that car development into GTA 6 at all, or if they're just going to keep them separate and be like, hey, go make your car games. They sell very well on PC. Who knows?
I don't think they're going to be like, okay, we're going to buy Codemasters so we can make vehicles in Grand Theft Auto feel okay.
Yeah, feel like the GTA 5's driving was okay. It was arcadier than 4, which I was into.
Yeah,
But
I think this is just they want the studio. I think this is just they want the studio because they want to own like a racing franchise.
They're just putting some moves out, You got Gran Turismo on PS5, and you got the Forza being put out by Microsoft. Take-Two's just like, hey, we got our racing game too. Take-Two's been making some moves. They also bought Ruffian Games, who helped with Crackdown 2 and Master Chief Collection. That was I think that was 2 weeks ago. We talked about it a little bit. But they're doing stuff. I think they also want to put out a free-to-play GTA thing. They were talking about getting into the free-play stuff. Maybe it'll be GTA or NBA 2K.
That wouldn't surprise me. I'm surprised we still don't have like a GTA Online like free-to-play version.
Yeah. It's because people just already own a copy of GTA.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't
like,
need to be free to play if you already own a copy of it.
GTA 5 just made absolute gangbusters.
Yeah. PS4, PS5, PS3, every generation. Put a GTA 5 out on the PS2. That's what they're going to do next, Austin. Wait and see. Jokes. Any other thoughts about... I don't play a lot of dirt games, but it seems neat.
No, I think it's a bit... I don't have anything to really say about about this purchase. I don't know enough about like dirt or racing games in general, or like what policies Take-Two would start like implementing like into these, or practices they'd start implementing into these games once they
Yeah.
purchase Codemasters. So I don't know if this is going to like impact like what the metagame of dirt is.
I think
But
we're
I
in a. Sorry, keep going.
but I know people who aren't like stoked about this news.
Yeah, I think we're in the arms race of like buying up development studios. You have all these big publishers slash companies. You could call Sony and Microsoft publishers, right?
Yeah,
I think they're all buying up these properties, trying to get. They're like doing the mega corporation thing. Like obviously Microsoft itself is a bigger company than Sony, but Sony leads the market in video games. So you can see Microsoft putting money into their games to help them sell better because they have a bigger like excess of like revenue from their PC stuff and everything else that Microsoft does. So where we can see like what Apple and like Disney are doing, where Disney obviously bought up, Star Wars. I think we're going to see a lot of these companies just picking up studios to make themselves bigger to compete with the other ones, which I don't know. Mega corporations are scary, Austin. I don't. Amazon. We just had the antitrust stuff coming up with like Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and do you know who the other one was?
no.
But you saw that they were talking to people with that, right? This year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Don't trust big companies, as it turns out. But maybe they'll give you a good deal on some gaming. The companies that make the most money are the ones that are finding ways to get you to pay a service $10 a month instead of like buying a product outright to own. That's why Netflix makes so much money. So I think at some point, if Microsoft takes the lead this generation, Sony is going to get closer to doing that. But they're making a lot of money off their $60 games too. Like that's not a problem for them. How do you feel, Austin?
Yeah, I mean, it's just how these things go. You get to a point where like you have so few like publishers, and they're gonna all own like so much of the games industry.
Yeah,
Um, I think like definitely like within like this new generation, we're gonna see like each publisher like doubling down on, certainly like console manufacturers doubling down on like streaming services. I think PS Now is going to, by the end of this generation, look a lot different than what it is right now.
definitely. And
Um,
they have been just putting PS4 games on there. Like
yeah,
PS Now just got like 3 new games. They PS Now is a smaller Game Pass. Sorry. All right, keep going.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, I don't think I don't think it's like it's not going to happen. I don't think people are going to be like upset if we get to a point where most of the time now you're like paying for licenses to stream games. Um, more than anything, like I think there's a lot of convenience to that. That's going to attract people to like a better PS Now service or like the Xbox Game Pass service.
So they
So like,
added Rage 2 and Injustice 2. I think there was some other stuff I saw.
I think like Resident Evil 7 got added pretty recently.
Yeah. There's a F1 game on there. Yeah, that's a November stuff. So I guess they're doing it like PS Plus, where every month they'll announce the new games they're putting on it. Um, Obviously though, when PS5 has, well, I'm not going to talk about PS5 because nobody's bought them yet. But when the Sony Xbox like market share is 3-1, where for every 3 Sony consoles there's one Xbox, is what their analysts were guessing in some articles I was looking at, is that they have more power for people to buy their $60 games. Or Microsoft solution was to get the people in their like ecosystem to give them a subscription as well. And then
it's kind of like a relationship where they like I get something out of Game Pass. Like I get
Yeah.
to just pay 15 a month or 10 a month to pay these full priced games where I could normally only buy them full priced at launch. Which that's where I think the good value is. And I think at some point Sony's will start doing that but only when it benefits them like monetarily.
Yeah. It's gonna really depend on like the performance of the new Xboxes like coming out of the gate here in tomorrow. And even then, I think Xbox like has like bigger hurdles in that than like Sony does because so much of what you can find on an Xbox you can find on a PC.
That's true. And Steam still controls like is still the biggest part of like PC gaming. Their sales are unmatched. I think Epic is kind of pulling up because of their deals with game developers and giving them better cuts of like profits when they sell their game on Epic Game Store instead of Steam, where we're seeing like Epic exclusives. And then Microsoft is coming up, putting their games on Steam. You can get Master Chief Collection on Steam, and then PC Game Pass right now is 10 a month. Collection's not as big as Xbox Series S or X. Maybe we'll see it get bigger.
And who knows what like Sony's PC plans might be? Because like they put Horizon out, and I don't think they've said anything else about that though.
No, and what was that? Death Stranding is coming to PC already on. I think it's already on PC.
Yeah, Death Stranding's on PC, but like that.
People are modding that to take out the bad stuff. Not the bad stuff of the game, but the encumbrance. Make it a weirder game.
Yeah, but
Every character Norman Reedus in that game. See what happens. I never played it. I skipped that one.
Yeah, but I think that's like more of like the exclusivity for Death Stranding being up more so than it was like Sony deciding to make this decision. Because I don't think Kojima Productions is a Sony studio.
No, but I think Sony helped fund Death Stranding.
Yeah, so like there's
development.
that like limited exclusivity deal.
Mm-hmm. Which we have seen a lot more is instead of a full exclusive, it's a limited. Which is probably why like some of those limited exclusivity games that came to Xbox just didn't sell as well because they didn't have as big of a pool of people to buy them. Like I think that happened with Tomb Raider, like where it was only on Xbox and the Xbox people got it, but like you have this vast swath of people on Sony consoles who you're missing out on revenue. I don't know if Microsoft kicked them back money to make it exclusive, but I don't know if that's enough to justify making it a limited time.
I don't think it was enough for Square, all things considered, but they also don't. They have like often have very like I would say outlandish goals for making for profits in those games. Specifically, like with Tomb Raider, we saw the same thing where they thought it was going to sell like well over what it actually did, and it still made money. It just failed to meet that expectation for them.
Can you think of any other time exclusive Microsoft games? I think because I can think of regular ones like Sunset Overdrive was an exclusive that has like a cult following now that probably sold okay.
Yeah, that's on PC now.
I can't think of besides Halo. Like Halo's not limited, but
yeah, I can't think of like any like recent console exclusive for Microsoft. Most of what we're seeing is like going to Sony because it's like just a much larger player base. Like the Final Fantasy VII remake was timed for the PlayStation.
And I think Ori is exclusive. That's it.
Yeah, but
I'm trying to think of AAA games that like will move like numbers.
gonna be here for a bit.
Yeah, it's fine.
Don't know if we really have those.
Speaking about like Square making weird deals or Square losing money on stuff, Square Enix was reporting that they lost 62 million from Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah.
So this tweet from David Gibson is kind of saying that they're implying that the game cost over 100 million to make, but only sold about 3 million copies. which at $60 comes out to like maybe they only sold $3 million worth of copies. Because I don't know, that game came out, didn't have an end game, and didn't advertise like beyond like, hey, you can just play as the Avengers, which I don't know. A lot of people need more than that in their game. Like Spider-Man came out and sold so well because they made a good game that's more than a service game.
Yeah, like that's. I mean, it's the thing. Like you look at the presentation of like Spider-Man before its release, and like that stuff was fantastic. Like because that game was like being made like specifically for Spider-Man's moveset.
Yeah.
And it took advantage of that in a real way. And then you have this Avengers game where you're playing as like one of this like group of heroes, and like no environments are made like especially for the traversal of any of these people. Like anyone can get to just about any spot on the map. It's really just like you need the Hulk to bust open big doors, you know? To my knowledge, like anyone can like move through the map about at the same speed, maybe a bit slower than like Tony Stark because he can just fly. And so nothing about this looked particularly interesting, especially not like from like the opening level, which is all they showed before like this summer, where they started doing like their war table presentations that just weren't that interesting.
Yeah, and I think Square Enix and the developer of this game, they missed the mark. I think there was a time before Infinity War came out, or at least Endgame, where the hype for Marvel was real. Endgame came out, put a pin on that kind of 10 years of Marvel stuff, and obviously after Endgame, what Marvel movies came out after Endgame? It's kind of like COVID hit and they pushed everything back.
Yeah, so Endgame was like Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah, and Far From Home came out before Endgame, I think.
No, it was post Endgame.
Was it? Oh yeah, you're right.
That narrative is literally post Endgame.
Okay. Oh, but that's right. I'm thinking about the trailers that they were showing, because the trailers were coming out before Endgame. People were like, "How does this connect to
Yeah.
Endgame? Is it after?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, it's after." But they kind of missed. Endgame came out. When did Endgame come out? Let's see. I think it was 2019. And this Marvel Avengers, came out 2 months ago. The hype is not
Yeah.
there, and obviously people kind of moved on to other games.
Well, the other thing is
People
like
bought it, enjoyed it, but
these are weird these are not particularly interesting looking interpretations of these characters, right? Like people are attached to the Avengers as depicted by Hemsworth, Ruffalo,
Downey.
Evans, Downey, and Johansson, right?
Yeah.
These are not these people.
No.
Their designs are not particularly interesting. Like seeing Captain America in like a tactical vest was real weird.
Yeah, that was a weird. It's an interpretation,
Yeah, and
but it's not
it's not
the
like as gripping as like anything that we saw in the MCU.
like if you think about Chris Evans like outfits throughout, like the amount of R&D that went into those suits. There's so much money, and you look at their costume, you see, oh, it's like just not as designed as well. I don't think it's different. It has to be different because obviously the facial capture is different, so they're trying to make it their own thing too. I think Thor's works pretty well. He's got the standard 6 circles, and they look like they're weird brass circles.
Yeah, but like Thor is like relatively easy because you just need like a buff blonde dude with a wicked beard.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think the story mode of that game kind of ended up being more charming than people thought it was being, but I don't think it made it sold better because it
because it
is
wasn't being sold
muddled
on the
with the
story.
service stuff, which
What?
is not going well for them. They're kind of pushing everything back. They're waiting. It's also COVID. It's a hard time to put it together games.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I think if this game is like a smaller game focused around like Camilla Khan, I think it does better.
Yeah. All right. Are you ready for the lightning round, Austin?
Oh, sure.
All right. Let's get into the real meat and potatoes of this podcast, is the lightning round. Final patch for Friday the 13th came out. It'll go live November 10th. It sounds like they're kind of sunsetting that game's development. Did you ever play that, or like a Dead by Daylight kind of game? Is that your...
I played it once when it was free on PlayStation Plus. Some friends and I played it for a bit. I remember having an okay time as Jason. I remember I have a clip saved where my friend was taunting me through a door, and I was wearing like the Jason costume that would just let me burst through locked doors. And he was noticeably taken aback at my ability to just walk through a locked door, and I have my audio saved on that clip, and I just burst out laughing. And so it's a good memory there. But like playing as the campers, I never got it.
Yeah. I didn't play Dead by Daylight, but I think Dead by Daylight is doing more because you're shackled to Friday the 13th. You're shackled to Jason. You have one type of bad guy, and they all play the same, maybe with some different variations. But Dead by Daylight is pulling from not even IP. It's just making their bad guys. So I think if Friday the 13th game made a decent amount of money, maybe we'll see something where they're bringing, like, obviously these IPs that we know of, these Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, can't think of any other, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If you put them all together, it'd be the perfect one of those games, but it's not viable, and it will probably cost a lot of money.
Yeah, isn't there like Leatherface and like Michael Myers are like in Dead by Daylight, right?
I don't have the research to back up those, but some of them are definitely in the Mortal Kombat games.
I wonder how could we find out?
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Myers is in Dead by Daylight.
Okay.
So is what looks like the Texas Chainsaw dude, Freddy Krueger, Ghostface, the fucking Stranger Things Demogorgon, and Pyramid Head.
Dead by Daylight making the moves, Yeah,
like Dead by Daylight already seems like a lot more interesting to me just because like I can run from Pyramid Head.
Yeah, and then in addition to their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I got 7 bad guys right here who are also just generic slasher dudes, and then I think they're talking about this a little bit on the Giant Bombcast, and I thought it was interesting that they were saying that the combat is a lot more user friendly, a lot better for people who are coming to it new. I think Dead by Daylight's a little more complex. Maybe I'd compare it to like a Rainbow Six Siege, where it's going to take a while for you to learn how to play this game to be able to have fun with it. All right, lightning round. Got to keep going. Fortnite's giving players 2 months of Disney Plus by buying shit, Austin. Buy the shit and you'll get Disney Plus, Austin. Buy this skin of Iron Man. Do it.
No, thank you.
Yeah. For people who are already buying that stuff, cool for them,
Yeah,
there are people who that's their hobby game and
can watch The
they've
Mandalorian.
been doing deals with Disney. Yeah, go watch Mandalorian. If you get it for 2 months, that's probably when Mandalorian will be out for season 2.
Yeah, probably.
Ugh, I can't. There's a Witcher article right here, but I can't read it to you, Austin, because
season 2 getting delayed.
No.
Oh no!
I can't read it to you though, Austin.
Give me the headline. Just give me the headline.
Don't worry about it.
Feed me.
I will not feed you Witcher content, Austin. You have to do that yourself. You're a grown adult. You got this, Austin.
Shit.
I don't know. How old are you, Austin? You're 24, 23?
Yeah, like 24. Yeah,
you'll be.
so let's see. They've paused production because of COVID.
That's not what I said.
Oh, but what did you say? Is it about the
That's
show
not
or
what
the
I saw.
games?
It's about the show. All right. So Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is gonna be free on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate on November 10th.
No, hang on a moment. We
Uh-huh.
gotta.
Can you? Well, if you guess the article, I'll give you a cookie.
I don't want a cookie.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so Jedi Fallen Order coming out there. I think it's already on
Fallen
EA
Order.
Play for $5 a month. But only Game Pass Ultimate, which is the interesting get, is you have to have Game Pass Ultimate to have the EA Play stuff. All right, since we're already talking about it, let's see. It's an article by PC Gamer. The Witcher's wrinkly testicle armor is being smoothed out for season 2, Austin. We were already talking. We talked about this last week.
Is that okay? So that's the
it was just
Nilfgaardian armor.
It was just PC Gamer making a joke about it.
They just called it.
And I didn't want to.
Okay,
Yeah, they just called
whatever.
it testicle armor, and I was like, oh, I thought that was funny, but not funny enough to tell you. But since you're fucking actively googling it,
that's whatever. Okay,
they discovered
that's
Scrotix.
You should have just told me. You should have trusted me.
Well, now I know,
but Fallen
Austin.
Order.
Now I know. When I bring up The Witcher, you will hunt down what I'm talking about.
I'll hunt down everything live.
Austin Witcher Mark Taylor over here.
Edit out that goddamn dead air.
I'm not sorry. Oh yeah, I'll edit out some of the dead air. Speaking of dead air, Fallen Order is on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate.
Wow.
I'm joking.
All right. Yeah, Fallen Order's fun.
Yeah, it seems cool.
I remember liking some of that game.
Hey, Respawn made what I will call take Star Wars and sprinkle it on top of Uncharted and Dark Souls, and that's I think what you got.
Yeah, it's just I don't remember liking enough of how that game played to really say that I thought it was really good. I think there's fun to be had, and there are moments where I think they hit some really cool character stuff, but then it's like at the end of the game and the game ends.
Yeah. What's the main character's name of Fallen Order? Is it
Cal Kestis.
Cal Kestis. Who am I thinking?
Kyle Katarn.
Yeah, that's it.
Is another Star Wars expanded universe character who's now no longer canon. My poor boy Kyle.
F in the chat for Kyle, but I like the actor who mocapped him, and I think the acting is pretty well for most of the characters of that game. Maybe I'll watch a movie of it on YouTube where someone string together all the story moments of that game.
Yeah, it's interesting enough. I think it's a fun enough story. I think there's some characters that definitely don't get as much time as they should. I also kind of don't like because there's some progression stuff with the lightsaber that I'm not super into.
Oh yeah, where they just like you start out with one, and then you can dual wield, and then you can make it a double-bladed lightsaber.
Yeah,
so it's all of it. You just do all of it. You're cool. It's a video game.
You go through that game doing that, and like I don't know because like Star Wars games have this weird thing where it's like if you start out with like a single like hilt, like a single blade lightsaber, that's your beginner's weapon, and as you like progress, that's where you get like once you progress, that's when you get like the real lightsaber, which is like the double bladed saber. And it's a bit weird to me to frame lightsabers in that way because it's like within like the main material of Star Wars, it's always like talked about as a choice. Like people who use single blade sabers are not less skilled than people who use double blade sabers. They just don't like it.
Yeah, I get it as like a gameplay thing where you want the player to experience new stuff as the game goes out, and that's just the thing they picked.
Yeah.
You could have made different stances with the lightsaber, just have a single blade. Did you get the slink of this weird Cameron Monaghan toy they made? Look at his face. Look at the face of that action figure.
He's even more like Archie.
Yeah. His eyebrows are his eyes are like depressingly molded. I'd buy that. I should buy that toy. I think that's a I think his outfit, the outfits for that game, I really liked.
Yeah, the
Not
outfits
gonna lie.
are cool. I wish like the people who wore them were half as interesting.
That's true.
I don't know. That's also the other thing is I'm just tired of Star Wars like games about like a dude.
A dude with a lightsaber.
Like there's so much you can work with in Star Wars, and like hearing interviews where they're like, "Oh, we didn't want to alienate players by making you anything other than a white dude,"
Or a
um,
man.
is a real bummer to me.
Can I get like a SimCity game where I'm playing as Jabba the Hutt and I'm just making a really shitty Tatooine? Like, can I just build Tatooine out?
Yeah, dude, give me like a
Capitalism,
goddamn
but for Jabba the Hutt.
hut
I'll make some pod
simulator.
racing on the side, so everybody doesn't worry about how corrupt Tatooine is. They'll be
Yeah,
okay.
Total War, Tatooine.
They made some of those like Total War types stuff for Star Wars, didn't they? I know they have like a
Uh,
galaxy one where you're flying around taking
Maybe like an Age
planets.
of Empires, like
Yeah,
Clone Wars game.
that's the same thing, right?
No,
Oh, in my
no.
mind, they're the same thing, Austin. Sorry.
Well, no.
It's okay. Man, we're in it. Let's pitch some Star Wars games, Austin. Give me what genre would you like Star Wars to be in? That's just what Star Wars games are. Pick a genre and then put Star Wars on it.
I think. Well, that's the other thing is like genre of like what games are gonna sell is
No, just
not
what would you like? What would you
particularly.
like, Austin? What would you like? What kind of Star Wars game you want to play? Just tell me.
I think
Don't worry about the
if I got my own Star Wars,
Uh-huh.
I think my Star Wars would be like I don't know. I think it would probably like take up like the spaghetti western like sort of like vibe of Star Wars, right?
Hmm.
I don't think it would necessarily be like I don't know if I'd want it to be like a shooter. I don't know, like maybe let's make vibroblades a thing again.
Yeah, vibroblades are cool.
Let's do let's do character action Star Wars game, but only with swords.
Yeah. Hey, you can get the black lightsaber. It kind of looks like a katana.
Yeah, that weird like proto lightsaber.
Hey, what was that CRPG from 2019? What if they made Disco Elysium,
Disco Elysium in Star Wars.
but Star Wars, where you have
Oh
one
yeah.
city and just everything is molded by your actions in that game.
That would be strange. I think that would
Yeah.
be actually weird.
Would it be?
Because then you have to yeah, because then you have to define like what role do police play in Star Wars, and you need to also define like what civil like liberties do people have to protect them from police, because that's a big part of Disco Elysium.
Oh, I don't mean the story of Disco Elysium. I mean like the way they set up their gameplay and like the way characters interact with it. Like where every character will remember stuff and how your stats will dynamically change things in the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like then you have to think about like what would basically be like your like inner monologue cabinet. Like what would that look like in
Huh.
Star Wars, where it's like you choose like all of your different like emotional like aspects of like you understand this about like history, or like you understand how to like work with people. I don't know. There's a lot of possibility spaces that you can take in Star Wars.
Yeah. Hey EA, go give the people who made Disco Elysium money and they'll make you the
Yeah,
Star Wars game. Just do it. Come on.
give me my Star Wars game made by freaking Studio Zone, which I
Yeah.
think is Zaum. I think is actually the name of that studio. Can
ZA
you
dat like
yeah,
/UM.
go onto itch.io and give money to people who make visual novels.
Yeah.
Let them make some Star Wars visual novels.
Hmm. See, I guess I would take Battlefront 2, but make it a good game. There you go. Take the stuff from Battlefield, put some Call of Duty in there, because Call of Duty makes really good game modes and really tight gameplay, and just make it a little better. Like, come on. I think the Battlefront 2 game modes are really lazy. We played them for a bit, and they were just like, go to the objective, hold this, or like, they just need something. They need that cherry on top. What was your French saying, Austin? I know it's not your saying. I just can't remember it.
Je ne sais quoi. Je ne sais quoi.
Je ne sais quoi
Yeah.
of Battlefront 3 put out a free-to-play battle royale mode where you can drop as a stormtrooper or smuggler. Maybe you'll pick up a lightsaber. Don't pick up a lightsaber. It would break the battle royale. Don't put lightsabers in a battle royale. Don't do it. You'll just fuck it. Or maybe do it. Maybe it just turns into, you know that the game where he plays the wizards battle royale.
Sacred. I was about to say sacred. Yeah, I've heard of it.
Spellbreak. You could make
Spellbreak.
a battle royale where everybody's a Jedi and drops down. You have to pick up your Jedi powers and your lightsabers, and you start dueling it out. Maybe get some, because Spellbreak has stuff where you make giant tornadoes and light them on fire and do weird shit. But you could do some. You could be like You could run around as Palpatine and get a Palpatine power and just fucking shock people. Like Fortnite will probably do it first. They're just gonna put Star Wars into Fortnite next time. It's Marvel this time. It's gonna be Star Wars next time, Austin. You're gonna just pick up a Palpatine power and just shock people while they're building.
Yeah.
That's it. They're not gonna make a game. They're just gonna give Fortnite the license for it.
Yeah.
Damn, it's depressing. Yeah. All right, there's the lightning round, Austin. That was we got to go to break. You know, we talked about the news, so we'll be back in just a second. Hey everyone, we're back from our break, and we're here to talk about the video games we've been playing this last week. Austin, seems like you're playing some stuff.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
So like at the end of last show, I was like, what if I just got into mechs again?
Yeah. What is Battletech?
I can tease that. So Battletech is sort of has its origins in like tabletop wargaming. I'm not entirely clear on like the systems and mechanics of like the tabletop game itself. But this is a tabletop game partially created by Jordan Weisman. Jordan Weisman also has his name attached to properties like Shadowrun. And when, and so at some point like mid 2000s, like early 2010s, Weisman and crew forms a studio called Harebrained Schemes, and they start making games on like licenses that Weisman's worked on previously. So you get Shadowrun is like the first project they start working on, and so about 2018, once they finished doing like their Shadowrun sort of trilogy that they did, they released Battletech, which is a I want to say tactical. It's like sort of tactical squad game in the sense of like an XCOM, right? But also not, because whereas in XCOM you have like your limited squad and you don't want anyone to get hurt, Battletech is a game where you have your small squad and they're gonna get hurt. They're gonna get goofed up real bad. But that's just inevitability, because this is a game where you are all piloting big hulking trash mechs, and you are just slugging it out with each other with various weapons and just sometimes just metal fists.
I think trash mechs are my favorite kind of mechs. Ooh, this looks pretty too.
Yeah, there's something pleasing about the idea, about the sort of aesthetic of trash mechs, as well as like
camera angle in this game where it's just kind of pulled back and you can see the mechs.
Yeah, it's like it's because it's all like it's pulled back enough so like you can almost always see over every obstacle, because like these are all like procedurally generated sort of randomized worlds that you're fighting in, because it's all in space is the other thing, right? So this game opens with like we discovered FTL travel in like the 2050, and then like in the hundreds of years afterwards we've established colonies, gone to war, established more colonies, went back to war, that sort of thing. And you play as a mercenary sort of lance in the middle of one of these wars.
Is this PC only also?
Yeah.
God, I would love to play this on console.
Yeah, so like Harebrained is never, like none of Harebrained's games are like on consoles. Like the last time, I want to say like the last time anyone at Harebrained worked on like a game was probably like the Shadowrun 360 multiplayer shooter. And like the their opening pitch video for like their Shadowrun Returns Kickstarter was like them throwing stuff at like one of the producers of that shooter, who works at Harebrained Schemes. So it wasn't like they found this guy and just started throwing tomatoes at him. That was like a bit that they recorded specifically for their pitch.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you're a pilot in this. You pick someone in the beginning, and you're on a campaign to do some stuff.
Yeah. So like
So-
so there are 3 different modes to this game. You have multiplayer, you have career, and you have campaign. So in the campaign, which is like the narrative component, you are the commander of a mercenary unit that is being contracted to help a sort of, what's the word for sort of, I think, deposed, right? Deposed heiress of this multi-planet like nation, get her throne back, right? Because like you have a bit of a history with her. You worked for her before she was before the coup. You were both taught by the same person who gets killed in the beginning. And she finds you and contracts you out. And so for like that campaign, what we're doing is like a series of missions for her to help her get her throne back. And it's fine. I'm not particularly into narratives about like rightful rulers regaining their place in monarchies. Because like monarchies suck. And B, they do very little to like actually make me like, within Battletech especially, they do very little to make you like Lady Orano. I don't know her first name, but like her title is just like Lady Orano. And like she's, all things considered, like probably okay. I don't know, it's like it's not as character focused as like their Shadowrun games are. So there are a few scenes where she's just standing in the middle of Battlefield and she's like, "Oh, is this really worth it?" And it's like, yeah, you're never gonna do anything beyond question that, like beyond that question. So she's like, "Is this really worth it?" It's like, well, of course it is. This is the campaign. This is the story.
Yeah. So what's your squad of mechs? What do you have set up here? You got 4 people in your squad, I'm guessing. That's what this
Yeah, so
trailer looks like.
you have your 4 mech squad. And there are a variety of mechs that you can control, right? So when you start out the campaign, you're gonna start with a spider, which is a light mech. Unfortunately, still 2-legged, right? There's no like wicked like animal looking mechs here. You're gonna start out with like a small like two-legged like spider mech fella, who's like half the size of a medium mech. And the thing about light mechs like that is that they go first in combat, right? Because you have an initiative order that's like a five-tier initiative order, and depending on the weight of your mech, you're gonna go later in that order. So you start with your little guy, and then you have 3 medium mechs. So one of them being a blackjack, which is the big gunnery platform mech. That's what your character starts out driving. You have a Shadowhawk, which is this sort of jack of all trades, but isn't really great at any of them. Mech that is all right at like mid range. Like if it gets too close, it's just gonna get torn apart. And then you have another mech. Its name escapes me, but that mech's whole thing is that it has like a big laser sniper called the PTC that can just absolutely shred through like armor really quickly. And so you want to keep that thing like jumping around the map on like its jump jets and firing from like half the map away if you can. And sort of in the campaign as you go, you're gonna get into fights. And the thing, not every fight in this game and how mechs work is it's all modular. And so what that means is there is a separate like armor and health bar for every limb, the center torso, and the head of the mech. And if you can take out a mech without like damaging it too badly, you get more salvage from the mech at the end of the mission. So that means after you get like three like parts of salvage, you can make that mech and add it to your arsenal.
Oh, so when you're shooting mechs, you can get the salvage that they left behind.
Yeah, that's only if you don't damage them too badly. Like,
Okay.
you're always probably gonna get like one piece of salvage, but I can say if I get lucky and take out a mech with a headshot in like my first go, which almost never happens, but it can.
Yeah.
If I get like a headshot on a mech, That's a lot of salvage.
Man,
Yeah,
I like these kind of games. I think I got Armored Core 2 on PS2. That was like a 2002 Armored Core game, and you would start out by you have a bunch of solo missions you could do that are kind of similar to this, and then you'd have like an arena you would fight in and level up and customize your mech and stuff.
yeah.
Even growing up, like there was a TV show called Zoid's Battle Century, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. It's just Battletech, but instead you got animals, and it's like a giant tournament. It's the like shonen type anime trope where you're just like fighting newer enemies every time, but it's also a tournament too. You have people competing for stuff. Great show.
Yeah, and they're all like in
New
like these big
Century.
like mobile houses. They
Yeah.
go around, they meet like in the desert, and it's like, okay, you got your Zoids, and here I've got my big like white tiger Zoid.
Yeah, the Jaeger, the Schneider,
Yeah,
the Panzer, different
wild.
variants of the Liger Zero that the main character used. Looks like a lion.
Yeah, you don't have anything like that in BattleTech. What you have is like all these just like gun platforms, right? Everything is a two-legged gun platform. Depending on like the size of the mech, sort of dictates what kind of weapons they can carry and like how many of them. So like your spider mech, which is like a real tiny fella, can only carry like 2 lasers probably
Yeah.
if you want to have any sort of like effective armor on it. And like then you get into heavier mechs, and so like right now my main for like my like player made character, who's like the only character. The other thing is every character can die except for your like player character. So like your mech pilots can all like die, and you can just have to keep recycling them and like try to level up new guys, and it's gonna be a big hassle. So like my main pilot uses a warhammer, which is just an absolute unit of a lad. Uh, who's just like I'd say it looks like a warhammer like 40k character, right? Like it looks like a really like armored fella. But instead of like 2 hands, it's just got 2 giant like laser cannons
Minigun
that
hands.
absolutely destroy its like heat efficiency, because like as you fire, your mechs like build up heat. And
See, in
so if I were to
Warhammer, we call that a dreadnought.
yeah, and so if I fire too much with that mech, it's going to build up heat real quick, and if that mech builds up heat that quickly, like I'm going to start damaging my own armor. And then
Man, I'm
once you
watching
start
this
damaging your
gameplay.
armor,
It's cool. You can
it's
like,
easy.
it's all like, it's turn based, but when you're moving your dudes, it's real time. Like I'm watching this guy hop up onto like a mountain over here, and that's a chonky boy. He is.
Yeah.
I like your color scheme too. He's got like the yellow visor, and it's got the red, and it's kind of like a kind of rust red. Good UI too. Like all your stats are like set up. I think I'm gonna make this the I'm gonna make it the
Yeah.
podcast picture. Who knows?
So you can see like these like 6 stats on these mechs, right? So you have firepower, which is how much damage can you deal, heat efficiency, which is like how quickly do you build up heat and do you get rid of it quickly. This boy does not. This boy builds up heat real quick, and it takes a while to make it go away. The movement is also real like down, which means like movement in gameplay is important, because the farther you can move, the bigger like the more points of evasion you can build up, and the more points of evasion you have, the less likely you are to get hit by enemy attacks that aren't like melee specifically. You have range of your guns, right? And that's a 3 points in average range is not bad. It's not great though. And then you have durability and melee, and this boy has big durability and a really good melee score.
Even when you're shooting people on your turn, this game is very cinematic. Like it'll pull the camera behind your mech, and you'll start launching rounds. Like I'm just watching this guy shoot a giant blue laser into a mech and blowing it up, and it's just the particles, Austin. Man,
Yeah,
I'm into
it's
it.
surprisingly this game looks surprisingly good. Like there are a lot of surprising details here in the game that I didn't expect. Like if you're building up heat, your mech's gonna start like you're gonna see like steam coming out of your mech.
Oh, I see that.
It's real, man. It's real fun. It's real good.
I like the hexes that come up when it says your turn around it. I like aesthetics. Like, as
Yeah.
we'll talk about UI, Demon Souls UI not too good. Battletech UI pretty immersive, I'll say. That's what UI is supposed to. UI is supposed to be immersive, Austin.
Yeah. Like
Demon
Battletech,
Souls, as it turns out, doesn't do that.
well, it did.
It did at one, yes.
There was a
Not
time.
the PS5 version.
Yeah, Battletech's UI is, I think, pretty easy to read, especially for like this type of game.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that you might have trouble with is keeping track of like your mech parts. Like if your arm has enough armor to where you can like put yourself in a position where like
Yeah.
an enemy will just flank you and blow your arm up. And the thing is, like, they blow your arm up, you lose the weapons on that arm.
And I have this. I'm looking at the UI for the bottom here, and it looks like you have the bottom left that has a front and a rear of your mech, and it'll show the arms and your damage on those and your little
Yeah.
overheat thing, like you were talking about.
Yeah, so you
That's
also have to
cool.
like
Very
manage
cool.
like armor on the mech, and you have armor on every component, and you also have
Yeah.
armor on the back. And the back armor is like the weakest. It is just by like the fact of the weakest. You can't get it up to a number where your rear is going to be like as good as your front facing
It's very
armor.
cool.
So you need to manage, like that's how you like, that's why it's important to manage position in this game.
Nice. Well, Battletech seems cool, man.
Yeah.
I started playing that Final Fantasy VII remake. I had originally bought it like when it came out and played like the opening. So the original Final Fantasy VII was a 1997 Square Enix game in the Final Fantasy series for PS1, and they remade it. Came out March 2nd, 2020. It's on Unreal Engine 4. It looks really nice. It's very cinematic. It follows Final Fantasy VII, and then at points it'll stop following it because in canon this game is an alternate universe that is like being fucked with in the original timeline.
Yeah, I
And
remember
when
that.
things deviate, there'll be these dark shadows that come up that are attacking you or trying to put it back. So at some points, there's like as a storyteller, this game is like keeping the cool stuff from the original Final Fantasy VII or the stuff they think will make an interesting story, and then deviating at certain points to give like the people who played the original one something different, but also like there's a scene I got to that deviated where I was with one of the squads of what is your squad that's Barrett? What's their company called?
Avalanche.
Yeah, it's Avalanche. I'm with the girl who makes the bombs.
Jesse.
I'm with Jesse, and we're going off, and I'm trying to help her get bomb equipment. And it's after we blow up the first Mako reactor, and we get into a motorcycle. We get these motorcycles because we're going somewhere, and this soldier comes up. And when they say soldiers in Final Fantasy VII, they mean like genetically enhanced people who I think it's based off of like Sephiroth, the main bad guy's a soldier, but he's like the best one. And
Yeah.
they're all getting their DNA from, is it Geneva? Is it
Yeah, Genova.
Genova? And she's like this entity of Mako, or I'm not gonna get into that, but she's like an energy source that they are. She's an alien, right?
Yeah, yeah. So she's technically an alien. It's a
So
whole thing. That's what
yeah,
part 2 is going to be about.
I'm not gonna get into it, but they use her DNA and they put them into soldiers to make them like super soldiers, pretty much. So this soldier comes up on a motorcycle, and it's like it's like I'm fighting this soldier on a motorcycle, and I'm swinging my sword at him, and there's other soldiers coming up, and there's this big boss fight that was not in the first game at all. Because Midgar, which is the setting of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and you're basically only in Midgar and maybe some outerlying cities. Midgar in the original Final Fantasy VII takes like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Whereas they made that section more of a game because it's such like an iconic place, and you can do more with Midgar. And I want to talk about like the remake and the soft reboot and the reboot thing, because as weird as that like original Neon Genesis series is, and as much like good stuff and bad stuff it has, they reboot it, soft reboot it, remake it with Neon Genesis, rebuild of Neon Genesis. And so the creator kind of kept the stuff he liked and got rid of the shitty stuff, but added some fan service. And I really like when they remake series because it gets you on the nostalgia, and they remake the music and they redo the animation. So I think that stuff I really like. Did you beat this game?
No, I haven't. I have not messed with Final Fantasy VII Remake. I played the original.
Okay. It's the music's redone too, and the combat's really cool. Like the combat feels like they took what they learned from Final Fantasy 15, which 15 was not turn-based and was like an action RPG, and this is an action RPG that has picked up some more of the RPG elements that Final Fantasy 15 kind of left behind. Like you have your attack meter that'll build up for your specials over time, and as you build combos by attacking, and you have mana and spells and materia you're slotting onto your weapons to unlock abilities. And I think they keep a lot of the things that you remember that you enjoyed from Final Fantasy 7 while making it just like a new thing too.
Oh,
and
yes, like you don't have like turns for like attacking, but you do have to build up like a mirrored special things like materia, right?
yeah, correct. And then I don't know, it's fun. I like the music. I played it for a couple hours. I just got through the section on the motorcycle I was talking about, and then I'm playing it in Japanese because I tried playing it with the English like voice acting, and
Yeah.
it's just something off enough about it that everyone sounds like they're childish. They don't sound childish, but everyone sounds very excited in the English dub, and everyone's really kind of like they're hamming it up a little bit. And
Yeah.
sometimes I like the Japanese dub better because I watch a lot of anime in Japanese, and it just kind of like this is like the first game I've really played in Japanese. Most games I try to play in English because I've never done that before with a game, but I'm really enjoying the voice acting better. And there's not like a voice for Cloud Strife. Like in Final Fantasy VII, I don't think there's anyone talking in that game with audio.
No. Yeah.
The only time we get to hear Cloud Strife is in like Advent Children, the Final Fantasy VII movie, and then he's in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. And in Kingdom Hearts 1, I think Cloud and Sephiroth are in 1, and in Kingdom Hearts 2, Tifa's there as well. And Aerith is in Final Fantasy 1 also. He's Kingdom Hearts 1, not Final Fantasy. But yeah. So I don't have such an attachment to the voice acting for these characters, so I'm cool with like playing in Japanese.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of what I've seen from the voice acting is like it's kind of hammy. Like it's kind of like everyone's a bit enthusiastic because they're still at the point where they're like, yeah, Avalanche, we're so cool, right? And like as you get to the end of the game, like it's like, oh, Avalanche, maybe we don't do this, right? And like Cloud is, from what I also seen of Cloud, like I feel like his VO is like fine enough for being the very edgy boy
Yeah,
that he starts that game out as.
they keep him as edgy guy who's serious and won't make too many jokes. You know that stereotype. But everyone else around him, everyone is so attracted to Cloud, and it's the weirdest thing. And it's a little better. Like it's a really hard pill to swallow in English, but in Japanese, it's a little. I'm not as bugged by it because hearing Jesse and Tifa fawn over Cloud is kind of weirder in English, but in Japanese, it's like I'm watching an anime, and it's not as hammy.
Yeah, it's real weird that they
Everyone's
decided to
hot.
make that.
Everyone's
I mean,
real hot, Austin. Let's
yeah,
be
I know.
real.
Like, yeah,
Barrett's
like
pretty. Look, Barrett's a chonkin' man with a gun
yeah,
on his arm.
it's kind of. I don't know why they made that game so horny.
Yeah.
I mean, like everyone in the original is like attracted to you, right? Like Tifa,
You know,
like throughout that game, Tifa is like pretty attracted to you, but like Jessie only gets like a line where she says like she's attracted to Cloud in that way, and I
yeah.
think that's like when she, you know, at the end of like your Midgar section.
Yeah, she's the one who ends up getting like killed, is what I hear. Is there a way to save her, or is she just the one who?
Within the remake, I don't know.
Oh, okay, spoilers. There we go. I think she
Like,
dies. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows?
I mean, I'm sure like all of them do. I'm sure most of them do.
I'm sure we'll see what happens in FF7 2 remake, but in the original Final Fantasy VII, it's just Aerith who gets like Sephiroth comes up behind her while she's doing something and stabs her, and it's a very pushing moment for Cloud as a character. I hate it when they kill people to make a character more like, oh, we have to do this because revenge.
Well, I mean, yeah, death as a motivation is not particularly good.
Yeah.
I think there's more with Aerith death in like the original than like just making Cloud angry. Like I think her death is kind of like what triggers like Cloud's like growing realization that he is not who he thinks he is.
Yeah.
I also think Aerith's death is important. Like Aerith's death is important because like that's how the ending like works.
Oh, in the original
Right.
game?
Yeah,
Did you beat
within
the
the
whole
original game. Yeah, I beat the whole game. I beat
Okay.
the original game.
I only played disc 1, so I got a little bit out of Midgar, but not too far.
Yeah. So like within like the original game, like Aerith dies, and like something about to my recollection of this, like something about her death like sort of like fuels a materia that you need to save the planet.
Oh yeah.
And it's not like the ending of like the original is pretty ambiguous. It's whether or not you succeed, right? Which is something that I think about in 7 as like something I really like with that game, is that the game ends and it's just like nature is overtaken Midgar, and you only see like I think Red 13
Yeah,
and
he's
like
staring at the city.
some cubs. Yeah, you don't see any humans, and I think that's great. And
although, as we learned from Advent Children, have you watched Advent Children?
yeah, I watched Advent Children.
It's okay. It's the Japanese dub is better. I'll say for that one.
It's not. I mean, my problem with that isn't like character dialogue. It's just that it's generally uninteresting story.
Sephiroth's not really in it, but he's also dead at the end of the first one, and they bring him back for a little bit.
Well, it's just like more of it. Like I didn't need more of Final Fantasy VII at the end of Final Fantasy VII. Like that game ends itself like really well. I am interested in seeing how they handle that ending once they get to it in the remake, because like as you said, like they have these like phantoms that are going around and trying to correct the timeline. And I wonder like how they're going to reframe the struggle of Final Fantasy VII's remake, as opposed to like being about you facing off against Sephiroth, to you like trying to stop these phantoms from like ruining your lives.
Yeah, they're maybe it'll be being linked to that, but there are like 4 Final Fantasy VII things in canon along with some other stuff. Look at this PS3 they were selling with Advent Children though. It's the weirdest thing. It's a Advent Children box, and it says Cloud Black, and it's a 160 gigabyte PS3. I don't know how I got into that, but it's a Play Asia. It's like an older.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's weird. People like Final Fantasy VII. There's Dirge of Cerberus, which is like the Vincent Valentine based game that takes place probably after or before Advent Children, and then there's the prequel with Zack.
Oh
That's
Lord.
what is that one called? It's the PSP game. Did they ever remake that for anything else?
I don't
Core.
know.
Crisis Core. Crisis Core is really cool. If you like the Final Fantasy 15 combat or stuff that kind of leads up to that, Crisis Core was very influential in like the action RPG stuff. And
yeah, like
Final Fantasy Type 0 is another like one of those.
Isn't it the one with you're basically Fire Emblem, where you're like at a school?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Correct.
I'm not gonna touch those.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. We don't have to get into that. But yeah, I have one of my friends, my best friend's like really into Crisis Core, and I never played it, but it's cool. You know, there's a bunch of Final Fantasy VII out there. I hope Remake 2. If this keeps going, if these keep selling well, I think they're gonna find a way to get Crisis Core and Advent Children into the remake series.
No.
Either that or like, let's say they do get to. I think it's gonna be a trilogy. If they get to Remake 3, the ending is gonna be completely different, because that's what Rebuild of Ava did. Is there's 4 movies, and the first movie is basically the same, and then half of the second movie is different, and then 3 and 4 completely different.
Yeah,
so
but
they
like
might go that route too. Blend the multiverse of
yeah,
Final
but like
Fantasy
Rebuild
VII.
of Ava isn't like they're not like active. There's no like plot point in Rebuild of Ava where they're like actively trying to restore the timeline of Neon Genesis.
No, it's like Rebuild's actually like a sequel because the whole world resets and it's a circle.
And so like with like the threads that they're starting to pull at within like Final Fantasy VII Remake, I think the ending is going to be so about trying to build something new out of like Final Fantasy VII, to where I think it's still going to be like tied to the original ending of 7 in a real way. I think what's going to happen is it's going to be a lot less about like the meteor that's going to come kill everyone and more about the interpersonal struggles and like their desires to live their own lives outside of this conflict than like the world ending or like making something entirely new.
What if Final Fantasy VII just keeps getting games made because they never make an ending for it, Austin?
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, like Square's been real weird with Final Fantasy. I mean, technically, Final Fantasy 15 is a canceled game.
Is it?
It is. Because they canceled the DLC.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they had a lot more DLC that they were going to play in Final Fantasy 15, and that all got canceled.
That well.
Yeah, I mean,
it was too different, and like, I don't know. I enjoy it. Even I never even beat it I mostly played it in the last 2 years, compared to when it came out in 2016. It's a different game, and I think people were weird about it. And it's been being made forever. It started out as Versus 13 in 2006. They basically made that game for 10 years, Austin.
Yep.
That's what happens, man. PS3, PS4, that was a rough jump for people. It's trying to learn the cell processor and then not working on the cell processor. As it turns out, Square takes a while to make games. Kingdom Hearts 3, same thing happened. They were on the fence. Hey, do we make Kingdom Hearts 3? And then they did the 3DS version, which might have been like the original Kingdom Hearts 3. And they're like, oh, we'll just skip it. And I don't know. It shouldn't take 10 years to make a game, but sometimes it does. Squaresoft needs to learn to... Okay, Square Enix. Squaresoft is the old name. My apologies.
Squaresoft ain't learning anything new. They're dead.
They're not even a company. Square Enix should figure out how to release a game in 5 years. And hey, I mean, it's their money. If they pour a bunch of money into it, they need to make it back. Hopefully 16 comes out at a reasonable point. We'll see. I think that'll be the two products. Sorry, the 3 Square Enix products that are somewhat attached to Final Fantasy. We'll have the Final Fantasy VII stuff coming out with one developer. We'll have the Final Fantasy 16s and mainline stuff. Then we'll have their Kingdom Hearts shit that they're working on that isn't even linked to Final Fantasy anymore. They give up on that. It sucks. I want to fight Sephiroth. Damn it.
I'll get there.
Yeah. How's Heaven Will Be Mine? You were playing that a little bit. I see this. See this list. What's up?
Yeah. So continuing on with Mechs. I went back to a sort of a visual novel I had purchased called Heaven Will Be Mine, and this is another 2018 Mech classic, right? 2018 was real. It was the year of the Mech in a real way.
Into the Breach was like 2018 too, right?
Yeah. So we had like Into the Breach.
Good time.
Heaven Will Be Mine, Battletech. And like I'd argue like Heaven Will Be Mine, Battletech were like probably like my 2 favorite games of 2018. So like with Heaven Will Be Mine, you play as like one of 3 ace pilots for these various factions. It was in an 8-day war in the solar system, right? So you have Lunaterra, who's like this, and they're all like teens, right? So you have Lunaterra, who's like this sort of like older teenager who's fighting for like the Earth Memorial Foundation, which is about like getting people out of space and back to Earth.
You're talking about the Federation and Gundam, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Is he the Amuro?
No,
correct,
no. So I mean, they're all like kind of an Amuro, right? So like these are all like women. You play as like these one or three women. Like the thing is like this game does have like a type or like a version of new types. I would not say within the narrative from what I gleaned, Lunaterra is not like one of them. She's like a very like whereas like the other two pilots you can play is like very into the sort of the psychic space and like metaphorical space that they can navigate mentally. Lunaterra is very material. She's very tactile. Like her mech is the oldest of the three. It is like it is ancient compared to the other two in both its design and its implements. Whereas like one of the other pilot is a woman named Pluto. She works for the faction Cradle's Graces, which is about there's a group of people who space. And her like mech is this huge monstrosity that like can bend gravity waves, right? Lunaterra's mech has like a sniper and a spear.
All right,
And
time
that's
out for a
what
second. You said Lunaterra, and I thought you were talking about an organization at first, but yeah, I
no,
realize
yeah,
this is a
Lunaterra is a
character.
name.
Moon Earth,
Yeah,
also her name.
yeah,
Are all the characters planets? I'm kind of into that.
yeah. So you have
Little
Lunaterra,
Sailor Moon.
Pluto, and your final character is Saturn, and
Nice.
she works for Celestial Mechanics, which is, I think, my best understanding of Celestial Mechanics is that they are a science organization dedicated to moving humanity beyond like the physical form, and they are based in like the ruins of Mars.
I think that's like very close to what Unicorn Gundam does. But yeah,
Yeah,
looks cool. I like the art style.
yeah. The art style is really dope. Like the thing about this is this hits like for me this hits the spot of like kind of like expression. Like this is more like expressionist in like its action than say like Battletech is, where like Battletech is very like mud and guns, like modular combat. This is all like all the combat here is I think far more expressive than it is like literal, considering the fact that like one of your pilots literally just bends gravity, right? The other one is basically in a real like big cat mech looking thing
Yeah.
and like has claws that will like poison other mechs.
Is this Pillow Fight Games' first one,
No, this is
or
their
did they
second game.
do?
So their first
We Know the
game was
Devil? Was that their first one?
yeah, We Know the Devil, which is not a game I'm familiar with.
I'm just on their IO page because support indie games. That's cool. Is Heaven Will Be Mine mostly like a visual novel, or do you at all like have mechs fighting through like any decisions like that are the game will present? Because I'm looking at some like
Yeah,
gameplay,
so it
and it
presents
looks like
like
you're going through menus mostly.
yeah, so like it presents some choices, right? Like first choice being like who do you decide to play as for this run?
Mhm.
Um, and the choices like presented to you are when you undertake each mission because you have about 8 days. There's a sort of you're in an 8-day war in this setting, and at the beginning of each mission, it's going to ask who does the outcome of this mission favor, and it's either your faction or the faction that's opposing you in this. And as you get to like as you go through the game, each faction's going to build like a percentage number, right? And that represents like their power within the solar system. And the higher the number, like whoever has the highest number, that's the ending of it.
And
So
is
the
there
end,
multiple endings in this too?
yeah, there are technically four. There is like an ending for each faction, and then there's mm, mm, sorry,
You
my
okay?
dog just slapped into my leg.
No,
Noodle is a very clumsy poodle. Um,
got him.
so like the fourth ending is if every faction is like at 50%, you get a little screen where all the pilots like they're just talking to each other like, yo, so like how'd this happen? And then you get to decide which of the three endings you want, which of the other three endings.
Yeah, a very
Uh,
GTA 5 thing where you just pick. Everybody
yeah.
wins. That's
and
cool.
so it's really like, I think it's really good. It's really angry. It's sort of, I think, very indulgent in some of its writing.
Seems a little teen angsty. Kind of picks up on
Oh,
that
there's so
because
much
they're teen
angst.
pilots. You know,
Like,
it's a good setting. That's why anime does it.
half of these missions are gonna end with like these characters making out with each other.
Yes, I was gonna
Like,
ask about the romance. It seemed like there was people getting out of their mix and
yo, it's so gay.
snogging.
In
Yeah,
like, in the best way you can be gay. It's wonderful, right?
yeah.
Like, everyone is angry. Everyone, like, they're all angry. They all have like repressed emotions towards each other, and depending on what choice, they're gonna be like, okay, this is stupid. We're done fighting. I'm climbing into your cockpit. I'm gonna pull a gun on you,
And then we're gonna make out.
and then we're gonna
Which are
make
so
out.
intense. That's like
It's so much, man.
reminds me. For some reason, I'm thinking of that Mr. and Mrs. Smith where they're fighting and then like, ugh.
Yeah, where they like, where Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie are like shooting each other for the better part of 20 minutes, and then they just decide to bone.
Yeah, funny.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Like, there's not a lot of like this type of mech fiction like in game space, mainly because like people want mechanics to play with. And
Yeah,
I like how expressive this is, like, as it pertains to its characters and like the violence they enact upon each other.
I might pick this up on IO. I am a big Gundam fan, and this art style is very reminiscent of like Universal Century timeline of Gundam,
Yeah.
which is like their main timeline.
And we should also say, like, as far as like mech designs, like, this is more like, one of them is basically a cat, right? One of these
Yeah.
mechs is basically a cat. The other is just a very large red like humanoid that has like a veil,
Oh, it's on
crystal
iOS too.
pillars across their face. The other one looks like, I want to say, kind of looks like a gazelle in some way.
Interesting.
Uh, and it's like Lunaterra's looks like this like rusted gazelle type, and it's very interesting.
It reminds me of there's an anime where they do something like that. But okay, this is on iOS too. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, they
What are you
released this
playing
thing
this
like,
on?
I got it on Steam like a couple years back. This is before I made an IO account, an itch
Yeah.
account. So like, I bought this on Steam a while back, and I played through it once, like in 2018. Didn't ever go back to it, but like, as I was going through Battletech, I was like, well, let's have like lighter mech stuff right now.
Yeah.
That's also just somehow just as angry as Battletech is.
Yeah. Well, if you're kind of into the mech like teen stuff, Darling in the Franxx is a pretty okay anime. It's like a more recent one. I sent you a link if you want to look at those mech designs. They all look like the pilots kind of.
Oh, this is so much.
Yeah, it's different. It takes a little bit to get used to. I didn't like the designs at first because I thought they were too humanoid looking, but they're not too bad. The the show is very Japanese horny though, and
Mm,
that's a very anime thing, which can be a
yeah.
bummer. If you click that second link, there has to be two pilots in all of it, and a lot of the show will compare
Yeah.
like they're all like 18 and in college or something, or maybe they're in some boarding school living together because you have to like create a synergy between your pilots, kind of like the
Yeah,
Pacific
they have to
Rim
be drift
thing.
compatible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have to be drift, but instead of being drift compatible, the female pilot of it is bent over, and the male pilot is grabbing like controls from behind her. So that stuff's weird.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny in the first couple episodes. They don't really they flip it, they do a little. Here's a fun one where they flip the general. They have a guy being the pilot, or a guy being the suit, and the girl's the pilot. But like, they don't do that stuff too much. Most of the other stuff is like they focus a lot on the characters like being angsty and having their relationships being broken up and being pulled together and trying to learn to be like friends with each other, while
Yeah.
the corrupt adults of the world are trying to use them pretty much, and they're all brainwashed and thinking they're trying to help. It goes places. It's
Yeah.
okay. You just have to be like all right with the weird pilot thing, which Evangelion also plug suits, but there's not a bent over girl, which that's a
and
weird thing for this anime.
And like as far as like horniness and like mech stuff goes, like I don't know, like there's a bit of like anime horny I'm not super into. Like I'm about like I can tolerate like the horny of like Heaven Will Be Mine because like the horniness kind of just comes in like anger more than anything, right? And they get to like a point where like sometimes like maybe these characters will make out and it's like a cut to black. There's not like a lingering shot on like any of the characters like, bodies in that way.
Yeah, and that's an unfortunate thing that has kind of carried through in anime that I wish they would get rid of, but yeah. We don't have to get on it too much. I think we're both on the same page about it though.
Yeah, and it's just I don't know. It's like a thing. It means like there's like a fundamental thing about like about mech fiction is like it in some way like is always about like the human body because like we're making giant humanoid killing machines. I just wish people would like bring it to the forefront in a way that was not like, oh wow, like we're horny for this anime character type deal.
Yeah, it's weird. But see, what was I
So
playing?
what else have you got in the tank?
I played about an hour of Bloodborne before I was like, I am not chilling. I'm trying to chill right now, and I've had a rough day, and I cannot play any more Bloodborne. But I started Bloodborne. Shit. I wrote down what my build was, but I forgot. Okay, I took the saw blade in the beginning. I think it's the saw blade. It's the one that's like, yeah, I took a saw blade and I went for the build that gives me the damage. And then which you're starting, because when you start up Bloodborne, you have to pick a character type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you went for the build that gives you strength damage.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because that's what the saw blade uses. Cool. Yeah, like the saw blade's a really good starter weapon. Like I'd say I think it's the most popular starting weapon, and there's a couple of reasons for that. It's a bit easier to handle than like the cane is, and it also just looks cooler than the axe. But I think the saw blade also gives you a good buff in like the earlier bosses of Bloodborne, because the earlier bosses of Bloodborne are beasts, right? And the saw blade has like has a hidden stat and other weapons like it where like serrated weapons do more damage to beast enemies.
Yeah, I saw that, and then I went with shotgun because I just want to. And then I learned how I was like, oh, if an enemy is attacking you, you shoot them with your gun, they'll stagger, and you can get some hits in. So, man, it's pretty like when you the game opens up and you pick your stuff, and it's kind of showing you this werewolf eating someone, and you get into the laboratory. You don't have any weapons. You walk up and you get fucking murdered by a werewolf and you die. And then you go to what I'm assuming it's like a graveyard you go to. It's like the hub pretty much.
Yeah, the hunter's dream.
Yeah, and then you're picking your weapons up and then you go back and you kill that werewolf and you start leaving. And and then you enter the town. And I muddled around the town a little bit. That's about as far as I got. But as a Souls guy, I was still trying to get used to. I forgot that they prioritize, like, if I'm dodging and someone hits me, it's going to be knock me out of my dodge, which I'm kind of used to, like, dodging and getting my iframes. But I was getting hit while I was dodging and dying, so I was trying to get used to that, which was, like, different enough. Like, for example, there's that really big enemy. He's, like, the first big health bar enemy in the town.
Yeah.
And he killed me twice before I beat him, so I was just trying to learn to play while I was fighting him.
Yeah, so he had enemies there to like really teach you the importance of like gun parrying.
Yeah. Aesthetically very pretty too.
Yeah, no, it's very as far as like From's work goes, like it's singular in like its aesthetic and I would say general like creativeness in a lot of enemy design.
Yeah, and it's like not a
Especially
lot
the
of
bladed
games do like Victorian steampunk. The
Well,
only thing that's not at AAA. AAA, I'm talking. Except for like the only other thing is like Order 1886, or like horror. It's like it feels like horror punk too.
Yeah.
Sorry, you gave me a well. Did I?
Well, it's like I was thinking like specifically like the order, and then you have like some more stuff like outside of the triple A's, but
Yeah. And it's cool. I might mess with it more. What I ended up doing is I was playing it, and then I was like, oh, this is too much. I really like Souls games, but I went and just fucked around the open world in Tsushima, just like their main campaign. So I was just like doing some side quest stuff,
yeah, I mean
getting
the
my
thing is,
katana stabbing.
yeah, I mean the thing is like I don't know. I've completely like warped my ability to talk about these games, like Souls games, is like so warped by the fact I've played through them far too much.
Yeah,
Right?
and
Like people talk about how stressful they are, and I'm like,
I mean, for reference, like the time in my life where I did Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, and then I haven't really played a Souls since then. I played
Yeah.
a lot of like games with stamina bars. Like I played a lot of Monster Hunter in was Monster Hunter World 2018?
maybe.
It was. Or it was 2019. Let's take a look. 2017. Yeah, so I played a lot of
Oh
Monster Hunter
God.
World, but I've been kind of going into like not as demanding for a player, but it's cool to go back into it. I got some nostalgia. Like I beat all three of those games. I beat the Demon Souls and Dark Souls, but not Dark Souls 2, and that's where I fell off kind of, and I haven't really been back since. So I don't know. Maybe I'll get back. Maybe co-op has always been more fun in those games. They did give me an option to like play offline, which I instantly picked because I don't know if Bloodborne has people invading you.
There are, unless you summon, there are only 2 instances in Bloodborne, to my knowledge, that you will be invaded.
Mhm.
Those are both in like way later parts, but you're gonna get like a notification where it's like the bell ringing woman rings like her sinister bell, and that summons invaders.
Oh my gosh.
And so you just need to find that NPC standing around the level, and you can just kill her, and she won't come back. But those are both in. I think they're both in both optional the game. I'm not sure. No, there is one in a story critical section, but she's easy enough to find. And I also like Bloodborne's been out for so long. The likelihood you're gonna find anyone be summoned against you is pretty low.
Yeah. Hey, maybe I'll play it through with you one time if you feel like Bloodborne it up. I don't know.
I mean,
How's the summon? How do you summon people? Is it like a stone? Do you place a sign on the ground, or is it just like Matt? Can you just invite someone?
Bloodborne's summoning is like such a ordeal.
Yeah.
The thing is like you need to have like a code. Like you need to type in like a code to summon people.
Mhm.
To summon specific people, you can't just like invite someone into your session. It's like you put like a summon key in your game, and then I have to put a summon key in my game, and then we have to perform like a summoning ritual. And I'm not sure who does it on which end. I don't know if I like go to the goblet section of the Hunter's Dream and put like a goblet that will allow me to be summoned. It's just a whole ordeal. I'd really have to look up a tutorial later.
Yeah, I remember in Dark Souls, we would both be in the same level, and you'd throw your summoning sign down, and I'd go look for where you put it down and if it was the same username.
Yeah. Yeah,
Gosh,
it's
nostalgia. A
yeah.
flash of nostalgia just hit me from summoning in Demon Souls 1. Wonder if did they say if they're gonna do what the summoning in the Demon Souls PS5 is gonna be, or if it's just gonna be like you can invite someone to your game?
I haven't seen
Curious, curious,
much in the way of
curious.
like the summoning mechanic in their coverage. Though I also like haven't listened to that whole like state of play video they did.
Yeah.
But I don't think they touched on summoning.
Okay. Well, I think we've gotten a little long in the teeth right now. So I'm gonna call it here. Hey, if y'all want to send us any emails, I'm still open to talking about weird food stuff. Bug snacks, maybe. Talk to me about bug snacks. Just send me that. You can email me at thirdcoastgamingradio@gmail.com. Austin, what kind of emails you want people to send you? What's up, dude?
I don't really need people to send me emails.
Oh yeah, at the
Into Third
radio.
Coast, yeah,
Yeah.
into Third Coast. I don't know. Talk to me about mechs.
Yeah. Or scrotum-looking armor from The Witcher. You know.
We don't
free
need
to do
we
that.
don't need to talk about the scrotum armor.
It's true. All right, where can people find you at, Austin?
You can find me on Twitter at beardless2 TWO.
All right, and I'm at Travis23Doyle. You know, we'll catch you next week. Till then, have a blast.